I'm sure you've heard the news, but not like this. Get ready to dive into what's happening in the world of MMA. We're your go-to spot for fight night predictions, fighter interviews, and all the behind-the-scenes action you crave. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Give it up for your host, the one and only Panda.
What's up, everybody? Daddy from PandaMMANews.
And it's your boy, Big Poppy.
Sloppy. I'm just kidding. There you go.
Guys, calm down. Calm down.
There you go.
I'm here.
Before we really dive into that, I think what we need to dive into is a little bit of this bull torque, some good old,
Get you some of that bull tongue,
some good
boy.
old smelly salties.
A little Pacifico on the rim.
Ah! Why is someone calling me? Have to call him back. Anyways, so guys, we got some cool interviews for you guys today. This is the coaches episode, right? We're doing.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
two super high level coaches. Dare I say, some of the best. We got Jim West from Gold MMA.
MMA Gold.
MMA Gold.
Also the manager and head coach for Max Griffin, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, Aspen Ladd, multiple high level fighters.
We also got our jiu-jitsu coach, Alex Perez from Turlock, California. Guerrilla Jiu Jitsu.
Yep.
Come on, baby.
A real legend. Alex is in person in the studio, so Alex was a good chat, man. This is actually gonna be an extremely long episode because we spent a good hour chatting with our old coach, catching up, getting his opinions. For those of you who don't know, you'll find out in the interview too. He had an opportunity a couple times to make it into tough. It didn't pan out, but he had an opportunity a couple times. He's trained with Daniel Cormier, Dave Camarillo, who trains Mark Zuckerberg, John Finch, Luke Rockhold, Nick Diaz. He's trained with a lot of UFC fighters that you guys should know. If you don't, I don't know why you're watching this.
Dave Camarillo.
I said Dave Camarillo.
The man who trains the Zuck, aka the very rich cuck.
I said that, but yeah. Anyways, it's like you didn't fucking listen at all. But anyways, so we're gonna get into those interviews. But first, there was no UFC fights this weekend, but we're gonna cover some other events that went down. So the first thing we want to cover, in chronological order, we have Jesse Big Cat Arnett,
Our boy Jesse Big Cat,
friend of the show. He was nice enough to give us an interview when we were first starting out, and he's a really cool guy. I liked him a lot. He fought in Samourai MMA over the weekend. He fought against Frederick Dupras. I like Jesse a lot. Frederick, though, he attacked it the right way because Jesse's a grappler. So he just targeted that lead leg of Jesse, just unleashed tail on that calf. So, he can't do the hip crotch, whatever the hell it's called, where you dive in for the double leg, single leg. He couldn't initiate that because his leg was dead. And Jesse did knock him down once, though. So that was pretty cool to see. It ended. Jesse did lose by guillotine choke, but I will say it's not necessarily fair, not because of Frederick. It's because of Samourai MMA and their unprofessional setup. Jesse was against the cage, and when Frederick leaped in to try to lock in a guillotine, Jesse's foot, his left foot, went through the cage, between the cage and the mat, and his foot got caught. So that initiated this whole scramble and everything. That shouldn't be acceptable. Where you're on a show that's on UFC Fight Pass, dude, and you have a legend like Jesse Arnett, and you're not going to make sure your fucking cage is up to par. So shame on you, fucking Samourai.
No, but in all seriousness, I mean, that could have been really bad. He
could have fucked his knee up for life.
He could have legit torqued his fucking knee and then not been able to walk and shit. And then it's like, and then it would have sucked for his opponent too, because obviously if he goes out because of the cage, that there's no win in that, right? So then you put all that work in, you're in the middle of a fight, you're seeing some success, and then some shit like that happens. So yeah, you gotta clean that shit up, man.
Yeah. And honestly, Samurai, real quick, our boy we interviewed today right there with Mike Beltran. Real quick though, Samurai, you guys are fucking lucky Jesse's not suing you. You guys should legitimately be in court getting sued right now. That is so unacceptable. I have a hard time putting it in words. I can't believe that you guys are allowed a UFC Fight Pass, which was such a fucking amateur setup. And this is a full blasting session. I have nothing but
dude. 209 Beatdown doesn't have those problems,
and they're amateur, dude. I have such disdain right now for Samurai MMA, dude. Like I am so upset with them. You know what? Whether or not Jesse would have won or lost or whatever does not come into play. What comes into play is the fact that you guys are a professional MMA league and you guys are having these fucking errors where someone can ruin the ligaments in their knee for life and not be able to walk again. That's how you're going to treat a legend who has been fighting for fucking ever, who has fought a lot of big names, trained with a lot of big names. You're going to treat him, you're going to give him that kind of treatment, give him a shitty fucking cage that you found on an offer up. Come on, dude. Not acceptable.
Not acceptable.
But thoughts and prayers with you, Jesse. As soon as you're ready, brother, we'd like to have you back on. Sorry that played out that way. You looking for a special sound, pal?
It's okay, man. I'm doing my thing.
All right. So we're gonna move on to the BKFC fights. We had a friend of the show. I heard them say it on the broadcast, and I felt like they said it wrong, and I know I say it wrong, but I'm gonna try it anyways. Matthew Sokolochuk. I think that's how they said it, right? Sokolochuk.
I mean, I'm not going to attempt it. You already know I'm going to fuck it up, dude. And I like the guy too much to fuck his last name up.
I think that's at least how the broadcast said it. Tuned in. He was one of our interviews when we first started. And, dude, our boy got it done, dude. Our boy looked fucking good, man.
Brutal.
He had that head movement.
Yeah, I love the way he wasn't worried about the damage coming at him. He shells up for a second, and that initial just fucking caught him. What was it? I think it was a right hook.
It was the first punch that he threw, and it floored him.
That's what I'm saying. He was like, I'm not even tripping. Bah.
Yeah, it was a right hook, though. He shelled and he rolled with the punch, and he came back over. Bah.
It was so clean, too. Like, the guy threw 5 punches at him. His one punch equaled all 5 of those, but it was in perfect placement.
It was more than those 5 punches because Matt just shelled up and moved away and then fucking knocked motherfucker on the floor. So
yeah,
it was more than those 5 punches. And then it continued on. The guy is fighting Diedrichs. He got knocked down again from a body shot from our boy Matt. Matt sent him to the floor. It looked like it hit in the liver, but it was a clean body shot. And then they stood it back up, and Matt said, "All right, we're still fighting." Went back to work and put homeboy down again.
Quick work.
So shout out Matt. Wrong button. Motherfucker's playing with the button over here. Shout out Matt. Matt will be back on the show. We're already in contact. We're gonna figure out a time and a date where we can put this later this week. So keep a lookout for that. Matt will be back. He's 2-0 now in BKFC. I can't say enough good things, man. I really like Matt, so I'm happy for him.
You guys, we don't just interview these people because we just want to interview people. No, we're actually invested in this stuff. We like watching the fights. We love seeing where they go with their careers. And we're hoping that we keep good relationships and we can continue to have rapport and bring them back on and give you guys more insight on what that experience was like for them and what it meant for them, what adversities we didn't experience just watching it, as a fan and try to provide that kind of content for you guys.
Yeah. But that moves us to our next fight. Does it say her first name? No, it doesn't. So we're not going to go through the whole card because we didn't watch the whole card. We only watched the fights that we were directly connected to.
This one for a negative reason.
This next fight, I don't care enough to look up her first name, so I can't tell you. But it was the first female fight on the card. It was Delgado Lopez versus Ruiz. Ruiz, we had an interview scheduled with her twice. The first time she pulled out the day before. The second time she pulled out 30 minutes before her interview on a Saturday because she had eye testing. Yeah. So you know, I don't necessarily want to dance on someone's demise, but I'm tap dancing, dude. She got fucked up, and I guess you should take that interview, dude. You probably would have had some panda juju with you. You probably would have won that. You would have got a little sit in the panda dust, and you would have been right in there fucking getting those wins. But instead, you get the panda fart. And, and you're out now, you know.
And that was one of those questionable type farts that turned into a little shart. You know what I'm saying? The kind of one that made you go, "God damn it!"
She got panda splat.
Why did I push that fart out? There was no need for that. And then now you got shit in your drawers.
Yeah, you see that up there? You see the panda? Yeah. She took a fart right to the dome from this homeboy. But
you can only imagine.
Yeah, you can only imagine. But you know, shame on you.
But hey, actually, guys, you don't have to imagine anymore. Because if you go into our merch store, we have exclusive, only for the tried and true, the real kind, panda scented car fresheners. Get you some today.
Yeah, they're panda scented. You know, we work with a lot of high level technologists and scientists in developing this scent. And it smells great, guys. So make sure you go on, order. They are for a low price. And, you know, you're already there. Grab a shirt, grab a hat, grab grandma a panda dildo, whatever, dude. But make sure you buy from us exclusively. And I'll tell you what, dude, you buy from us one time, I'll make sure your next order is 20% off. That's a panda promise.
Ooh, I like that.
Yep. You heard it here. So, yeah, that's all the fights on the BKFC card we're actually going to cover. The rest of the card, no one really gives a shit about. The only fight that actually mattered was our boy Matt going out there and once again getting another fucking viral finish, dude. I can't stress enough. It sounds weird because you know I'm not a fighter, he is, but it sounds weird me saying, but I am proud of him. I'm proud of you know, he spoke this into existence when we interviewed him, and he went out and he fucking performed, dude. And I couldn't be happier for him.
Sign, seal, deliver.
I'm happy about the two fights we just reported. I'm happy about the way they ended. One, because you deserve it. The other one,
because you deserve it.
You also deserve it. So figure it out. But yeah, so that's really all I mean, there was a influencer Misfits boxing this weekend. I don't tune in that shit. I don't really care. The only time I care is when I'm watching Jake Paul fight a guy that's a quarter of his size, that's 10 years older.
Unless you guys want to see us fight somebody.
Telling you right now, dude.
Throw that in the comments. Let us know.
Telling you right now, man. Hey, there's a guy out there. Yeah.
You know who the fuck you are.
And you know what? I'm just going to say, Crazy Kev MMA, dude. Hey, you're so confident in your Taekwondo skills, dude. I've done Muay Thai for 7 years. There is definitely a size gap, but there's organizations that will make this work. You and me, dude. Let's set it up.
Size gap for that thigh gap, baby.
I'll fucking smash you, dude. I'll fucking smash you.
Like a like button, dude.
Yeah. Which actually, you know what? Since we're already on the subject, let's dive a little bit deeper into this because
yeah, man.
Because fuck this guy.
Yeah, because motherfucker.
So he made a report that Volkanovski was going to fight Charles Oliveira.
Loser.
It wasn't confirmed, and as of right now, it's not real. He got fucking roasted, dude. He got roasted and toasted by hundreds of people on X.
Shit, you dumb cuck.
To the point where Jared Gordon made a post and he commented on Jared Gordon's post saying, "Hey, Jared, thanks for having my back." And Jared turned around and goes, "Hey, man, I don't have your back here." Everyone in the comments was like, "I hear the heartbreak." Yeah, fuck you, Kev, dude. I'm telling you, dude. Figure out a promotion, dude. We'll set this up, man. I'll fucking smash you.
Who wants to see Panda over here smash the little cuck Kev?
Yeah, come on, crazy cuck. I'll put you back in the corner where you belong, right next to Ian and Kaio.
Yep. Hey, the only thing Crazy Kev will be good for is like a fucking foot rest when your feet get tired from kicking him in the face too much. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy Kev will take a crazy nap, dude. That's all I'm saying. You know. But yeah, I mean, aside from calling out,
who the fuck is that guy?
He's Crazy Cuck. But aside from calling out Crazy Cuck and you know, shitting on a fighter that blew us off twice, and the second time just a fucking dumb excuse. You that's pretty much all there is to cover there. So let's just get into these interviews, guys. The very first interview on the docket, we're just going to go in the order that they joined us. Jim West, the legendary head coach of MMA Gold, transitioned from NBA, baseball, right? Baseball? Mm-hmm. Making sure, because I sound like I said NBA. But yeah, he went from NBA to being an MMA coach. Very interesting guy. A lot of high-level fighters. Enjoyed talking to him a lot. Super cool guy. So enjoyed that interview. That is followed by our old jiu-jitsu coach, Alex the Patriot Perez. It's a fun conversation, so I highly suggest you guys listen to it, especially for all you guys from Guerrilla that I know are tuning in. Make sure you guys listen to the whole thing. It's fun. But we'll check on you guys after that. Enjoy.
Whoa, dude, I thought that grinder was broke.
Not anymore. Thanks to Avalos Co., I was able to get the parts I need in order to repair my grinder so my business can go on as usual.
What else do they sell parts for?
Well, funny you should ask. They sell parts for your broken tools, sex toys, garden equipment, even parts for your computer so you can get back to the games of Halo with your virgin friends.
Okay, tell me more. Where do I purchase?
You can see what they have available exclusively at avalis-co.com. That's AVLIS-CO.com. Check them out to get your tools to entertain those certain family jewels back in working order today.
Time. Hey, everybody. We have the legendary Jim West. He is the head coach of MMA Gold, joined here with us. So, Jim, what's it like training up these high-level athletes and running a gym and having a personal life and all that stuff?
It's a blessing, man, especially at this point for, been in this for the better part of, 20 years. It didn't start that way. Let's put it that way. It was an uphill climb for sure. The first, I'd say 10 years or so. So it's a blessing now where kind of the system kind of runs itself at this point. I have amazing assistant coaches as well to kind of help make sure that the whole system and standards that we expect are upheld and kind of move forward. So it's a blessing. It's a lot of work, but anything worth having is supposed to be hard.
Could you touch on that a little bit? Like what are some of those standards? Like if you had to list three of like the three main standards.
Yeah. So one of the things is I'm a firm believer in cross training when the time is right? Like when I've built them up enough foundationally to kind of now venture out to kind of do different things. So when I say standards, the first and foremost is they have to show up to team training. So I don't care what they do at any point, whether it's in the morning, the afternoon, at night, doesn't matter to me as long as they show up to team training. They have to show up to team training and support one another. This is not I just show up for sparring day. You can't get better if you're just showing up for the things that you like to do, right? And each day is very specialized. It's very specific. So there's that expectation. Then there's the expectation of accountability in the form of, if you can't be there, I need to know why you can't be there. Because your teammates are reliant on you. When I'm showing something or another coach is showing something, the last thing we want to have to do is go back and show those same things, again, simply because you didn't show up. So basic things, I think any high level coach in any sport is going to have standards of excellence. And I think those things are them for us, right? You got to show up every day. You got to be accountable to yourself and your teammates, and you got to communicate. If you do those things, the age old saying that I always say is, you don't have to do anything other than just show up. We'll take care of everything else. If you show up and you step on those mats, I promise one thing, you will get better, period, end of story. And you will be prepared. So those are just some of the simple standards. It's not that difficult, but for some reason, sometimes people have a difficulty with some accountability and some commitment and discipline.
Yeah, I agree. I was just in Sacramento. We're in the Stockton area. I was just in Sacramento 2 weeks ago. I work for a company, Sunrun. So one of our big offices is right there in your backyard. And we always preach accountability with everybody in the room. And it's hard when you're your own boss at times, right? To actually get people to go in there and sometimes to be motivated. But what helps is when you have a lot of people and the culture is right, and everybody's putting that hard work in and they're showing up consistent. It makes it easier on those days when you don't feel like doing it to go in and put the work in.
Absolutely. And I was touching on this with the team, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, is, oftentimes people only see, we'll use Max Griffin or Anthony Hernandez or Aspen Ladd as an example. A lot of times they just see where they're at, but they don't realize the decade long or more that it took to get to where they're at, and the foundational principles that we have built together over time, right? And that includes, there was a time where they couldn't miss a practice either. They had to be at every foundational practice, and they had to have those building blocks to be able to venture out and start modifying their schedule, right? I still modify their schedules as needed. They're in a different place in their career, of course, right? And many athletes in this game, in MMA, they see that and they're like, oh, well, I want to do that training. I want to do that individualized training. Well, you're not ready for that. You're just simply not. You haven't put in the years of building that foundation to be able to modify things based on where you're at in the sport, right? When you get to those types of levels, you have to train accordingly to your contract, to who you're fighting. It becomes very much more individualized and specific. But when you're an amateur or you're a regional pro, you have to continue to build on all those applications and all those systems of things so you can be prepared to fight anyone at any time. But when you make it to a UFC or a Bellator or a PFL, you know pretty much who you're going to fight for the most part. And then that training becomes very specific. If I'm fighting a 6'5" southpaw striker, well, guess what? I don't need to see anything else for the next 10 weeks except for that. Right? And so a lot of these guys and girls, they think, well, I need that. Well, no, you don't. You just need to shut up and show up.
Yeah. We did, as we sent over the message, we interviewed Max Griffin recently. He was a super cool guy. Hopefully soon we can get Anthony Hernandez on here. That would be awesome. But my main question, man, we're looking at your Instagram. How do you go from MBA to an MMA coach?
Okay, so I'm gonna make a long story short. So I was a Division I athlete. I played baseball at Sac State, and then I played professionally in independent pro leagues with the Indians. So after I was done playing baseball, obviously I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I went to school to go into law enforcement. So when I was done playing ball, graduated with my bachelor's degree, I went through the academy, and I was a deputy for Sacramento County for about 10 years. While I was doing that, at the very beginning, about 2003, is when I got started in jiu-jitsu. Okay. And then while I was working in the jail still, I went back to school and got my master's degree in business because I knew I was not going to stay in law enforcement forever. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go back and get an even higher education. So I have more things and more opportunities to fall back on later on in life. So I started teaching for the Los Rios Community College School District. So like Sierra College, American River. I was teaching some criminal justice and some business classes, etc. But in the construct of that whole thing, I had started jiu-jitsu right in 2003. And then in 2006 is when a friend of mine, Robert Barge, opened up a place called Overcome MMA and Fitness. And he's like, hey, you want to come over and teach some grappling? And mind you, I'd been grappling for about 3 years or so. So I was competent enough to teach some newbies some things. And then shit, man, I was almost forced to learn the MMA landscape. And at that time in 2006, as you guys know, it was a fledgling thing. It was not mainstream by any stretch of the imagination, let alone there wasn't a lot of people doing jiu-jitsu or MMA per se. so I kind of was like, okay, well, how do I navigate this world, right? Like, I don't know much about it, but fuck it. Let's go see what I can do. And through a lot of shit and people telling me I was an idiot, didn't know what I was doing, and all those, wonderful things, I just persevered, right? Like, because I started to get guys in the gym and they were like, hey, I want to fight. And I'm like, shit, I don't know much about this sport, right? It's new. I don't know promoters. I don't know how this thing works. So I was managing and trying to coach guys and stuff. And it was at the time when I was coaching Andre Feely and Daniel Romero, and a bunch of guys were coming through there. So I was kind of like, well, all right, let's figure this out. So that's kind of the really long and short. I mean, I can go on for hours and hours about the whole, past and how everything kind of, transpired and stuff. But really, that's kind of how I stumbled upon jiu-jitsu with Terry Maxwell. Obviously he's a, very well-known jiu-jitsu black belt in our community. He was teaching out of a little room in a powerhouse gym. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. I know a little bit about it just from going through the academy. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And I started doing it, and Overcome opened up, and shit, the rest is history. That's why I said the first probably, God, I would say first 6 to 8 years was a complete shit show, right? I just got shit on all the time. I was like, man, this sucks. I was competing with, Uriah at the time in 2006. That's when he opened his gym. And so, yeah, I just persevered, man. I just said, fuck it. I know I can do this. I'll figure it out. And the rest is history. So I'm very, very blessed to have a lot of help on the way, from different guys, different coaches and things that were kind of helping at the time that aren't coaching anymore. But yeah, but that's kind of how it brought me to where I am today.
So 3 years of grappling, you get the call basically to start teaching, and then it's almost like you just got thrown into this whirlwind, and then you kept having to adapt and grow and overcome and learn the next step. And it sounds like 8 years of trial and error, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, this is getting real. Like we're kind of there now.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I was talking to the team about this, and I tell them all the time, it's like, look, guys, it's not that I'm smarter than you. It's just I've failed more than you to figure out what works and why it works, right? Like I've been the fall guy to learn how shit works and learn and figure out the why so I can understand the how, right? And so it all just yeah, I mean that's kind of how it transpired, because we started getting guys in there that they're coming for grappling, right? And then they're like, hey, we want to fight. We heard there's this show called Rebel Fighter up in the fairgrounds out in the dirt, a gladiator challenge at Red Hawk Casino right in the middle of freaking nowhere up in Canocti in a parking lot, right? Like that's what fighting was back in the day, right? And so I'm like, well, shit, okay, let me see if I can figure this out. And yeah, it just over time I started to figure out how to navigate the waters, who the players were, create some controversy a little bit, you know what I mean? Like try to really stake a name in the game, right? And kind of create some rivalries that really weren't there, but I was smart enough to kind of understand that you kind of have to do that to try to get your name out there to an extent. So yeah, there was a lot of ins and outs. A lot of people have no idea about. It wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it was fun. I got a lot of fuck yous and piss offs, what you're doing kind of thing. I got into fights. I got jumped at fights before, just from creating that rivalry of things that I felt was necessary, and kind of just to be able to create that buzz around things. And then yeah, I think sometime in 2011 or 12, we put our first fighter in the UFC, who was Luis Gonzalez, and shit from that point it just steamrolled. Things just started speeding up.
So I'm hearing two of the stepping stones. It's 3 years of grappling, get the calling. 2011, you enter the first UFC fighter. Share with me a couple more of those stepping stones where you feel like it got you to that point.
Well, so in 2006 is when I started teaching, right? And that was at Overcome MMA, and I was there for about 4 years. We were in that facility, and then 2010 we moved to Folsom, to a gym that had just opened up called Folsom MMA. So we moved the team down, and kind of right around that time, I who came in? Anthony Hernandez. So Fluffy came in. He was still an amateur. He was 18 years old. He's like, hey, I'm looking for a place to go. Can't stand the guy the coach that I'm with, or if something was going on. I don't remember exactly what was happening. Not Mayor Noble, but I can't remember the other guy's name. Mayor Noble's awesome. But something happened. So him and his dad walked in, and he's like, hey, I had helped Anthony at one of his amateur fights before he was actually training with me because the coach didn't show up or something. So I was there with a couple of my AMs. He's like, hey, can you help me? So I taped his hand, I cornered him, etc. And then him and his dad came in. And one of the things I remember, his dad reached out and shook my hand, and he's like, hey, guarantee me you're going to help my son. And I was like, holy shit, I'll do my best. Right. Like, so I felt like some additional pressure right there at that point. So Anthony started training with us. And then shortly thereafter, Aspen Ladd started to train with us a little bit at that time. I was close friends with Jake Bainey, who at that time owned Pinnacle MMA and Jiu Jitsu down in Redlands. So it's like Bobby Green and those guys. So I had been training with Bobby and Jake starting kind of around that time. And then Lou, he had reached out. And so I was like, hey, well, come up. We actually, myself, Dave Hirschbein, the manager of all of MMA Gold, we drove down to Turlock and met Lewis and his mom at a restaurant. We ate down there, kind of told him what we were trying to do. Lou was kind of aware of what MMA Gold was, right? And he kind of just took a leap of faith and said, all right, you know what, I'm going to give you guys a shot. And I started training them. And then, so like those three all happened within, God, I'd say a year or so of each other. And then when Lou got in, things started to kind of just, snowball in a good way.
That makes sense. So you mentioned Lewis, and correct me if I'm wrong, he came from Team Voodoo, right?
He did. So at one point he was training with Gene down there, and I don't remember exactly where it's at. Modesto.
Yeah, we actually trained there.
Okay, yeah. So he was training with Gene, and he had, like I said, he had reached out to us. Hey, I want to do some training. We had some really good wrestlers at the time in the gym that Lou knew. So kind of things just kind of added up, and we're like, yeah, okay, well, and then, like I said, we drove down there, met with him and his mom, and he made the decision to kind of make the transition of training and management. And then randomly he got the call. It was probably a year or so after he started training with us when he got the call. I don't remember exactly what year it was, 2011, 2012, something like that. And then we just started getting more and more fighters in and out, right? And then I added more coaches, more of a system was in place, started to come in place, more of a really solid core foundation of things and how things were working. And it just, like I said, it just exponentially kept growing. I mean, into where it is now. I mean, we used to have about 50 fighters, and we cut that way down because it was kind of a pain in the ass, and people started getting a little bit too much attitude, cliquey, and all that kind of stuff. Now it's not everyone gets to stay on the team, and not everyone gets on the team, right? Like, it's pretty, I don't know what the right word is, but
just very selective.
It's very selective. Yeah, we have about 25 guys and girls now here, and then we have about 20 international fighters from Italy, England, Russia, Suriname, Aruba. So we have an international network of MMA Gold athletes that come in for their camps a couple times a year. It's just very blessed. Like I said, some of the things, I think obviously through hard work, things happened. The good Lord upstairs helped me out a little bit, and, just kind of, it's a very humbling thing, right? Like I sit back and sometimes I pinch myself and I look at pictures and stuff when I first started to where it is now. And it's like, holy shit, how did that even happen?
Yeah. It's crazy what you've been able to achieve, especially making a transition, from NBA over to MMA. And now you have all these great, successful UFC fighters. And that leads me into my next question, which is what's probably what are the greatest memories you have, from working with the Anthony Hernandez's, the Max Griffins, the Lewises?
Well, I would say, so I'm gonna flip the script on you guys. I'm gonna ask you a question in the context of things. So I've been very fortunate, right? I've coached 6 different athletes at the highest level into the top 10, top 5, right? And I will say the most gratifying and humbling thing is, and I'll ask you guys the question. You tell me how many coaches in this area, let alone anywhere, have taken athletes from absolutely nothing as an amateur with very little skill and brought them to a top 10, top 5 main events in the UFC, multiple performance of the night bonuses, to pound for pound top in the world. You tell me how many people have done that. That is the most gratifying thing to me, knowing, you know what, we've done this and we've truly done it from the roots of the grass all the way up to the top. Most coaches and most places around nowadays, you look around and you're like, well, that guy was already really good when you got him. That girl was already really, really good when you got him, right? Like I pride myself on taking that amateur that has a little bit of maybe athleticism and some coordination and a little bit of skill and being able to develop them, right? Like our age-old thing is we take amateurs and make them professionals, and we turn professionals elite, right? And that's kind of the thing. Like Aspen's brother, he's going to be next. Shaylor Ladd, he makes his LFA debut in a couple weeks. Autumn Norton, Katerina Legarreta, Ryan Fearonow, Josh Rinker, Robert Vela. These are all guys that you guys probably haven't heard of yet, but they're all coming up and they're all studs, right? And that to me is much more gratifying than just having a PFL or a UFC athlete call me and say, hey, will you help me for this fight camp? Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I'll help you. Of course I will, right? And that's awesome. How blessed I am to have those calls. But man, being able to build and see someone flourish from an amateur all the way to the top, nothing better than that. There's no amount of money that can make that feeling any better.
Yeah. To answer the question you asked, though, not many. I can't think of many people in this area. We interviewed Greg Jackson. That's the only person I can think of that we've actually talked to that has a similar experience. There's not many in this, especially in the Central Valley,
Right.
that has flourished, like you said, fighters from the roots all the way up to top 10, top 5 in the pound for pound rankings and all that. It's very impressive, and that's why we wanted to talk to you. But you got the next question.
Yeah, and to touch on that too, I can't think of any, especially as local as you are. Absolutely not. I can't think of a single one. So can you share with us any specific training techniques or strategies you've been particularly effective on with your fighters?
So the thing that we do, so our wrestling coach, Justin Durham, amazing Division I wrestler from Bakersfield, kind of down in your area. And then Fluffy obviously teaches all of our striking stuff. But the basics. So I use the word advanced basics. If our basics are better than yours, we're probably going to win, right? And I'm huge into that. And sometimes the guys will be like, fuck, Jim, you're making me do this again. Yes, I am. You want to know why? Because we're going to practice, and we're going to practice and practice and practice the things that happen most often in fights. People are so caught up in pad work and throwing a fucking 10-punch combination, which you're never going to fucking throw in a fight, and trying to be cool on Instagram instead of learning the basic shit and the things that happen most often in fights. So when I'm looking at tape, a lot of times I'm not just looking at, now if I'm looking at a specific opponent, of course I'm looking at tendencies, but a lot of times I'm looking to see, okay, what are those things that happen most often? And we want to be really, really good at those things that happen most often and be able to sequence those things together. So all of our training has to do with starting with a piece and then adding a Lego piece to it, and then adding a Lego piece to it. And everything should flow in unison, whether I'm on the mat to the cage work and vice versa, right? Like So I'm very big into why things work and how they work, and being able to sequence those things together that are most applicable for things that happen 90% of the time in a fight. And if we can do that, and we can do that, I like our chances.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important to focus on the basics. Couple different self-help books I read, that was always what they touched on, is the person that was relentless with the basics was typically the person that was more considered more advanced, like more elite in their field. And that's just simply because, like you said, in fighting, for example, super unrealistic to be throwing a 10-punch combination.
I mean, how often do you see that shit? It's so annoying. I fucking hate seeing it. I'm like, dude, you tell me when you're gonna throw that shit. Like,
Unless they're asleep.
Remember, your opponent is throwing back and moving, right? Like, it's
The longest combination I think was Alistair Overeem, but it was in, what was it?
Glory.
He was in Glory when he had that guy down and he kneed him in the face like 10 times. The guy was knocked out after the second one. That's the only time I could think of where that actually could be applicable.
But you think about like some of the combinations I see, you know, they're going from switch dances to, you know, run twos to fucking step throughs to all these things. And it's like, dude, you just did 20 movements that you're never going to do in a fight ever. Like, what is it? Just helping you think you are, like, is it making you confident in somehow? I don't know. That shit drives me insane.
Yeah. So, hey, off the topic of MMA, who is Jim West outside of the gym when you're not focused on the fighters and you get some time to yourself?
I'm a dad. I just got back from the mall. I have a 14-year-old daughter who, she's everything to me. You know, her and Aspen are the two girls in my life, and that's what I am outside of MMA. I'm just a normal dude. Try to be a good dad. Try to be a good human being. Try to be a good role model. Try to teach my daughter, you know, self-respect and discipline and all of those types of things, which is, you know, that's me. I mean, I'm a girl dad. That's what I am.
Have you brought them into the gym? Is their lifestyle intertwined with the gym?
Oh yeah, she comes in there and works out with me every once in a while. She's not a big fan of working out, and she's not a big fan of MMA per se. But she knows what I do. She's very well aware of it. She comes, I get my workouts in, and she comes and runs the front desk and kind of hangs out. And her and Aspen are very close. So yeah, it's that's me. I'm pretty simple. If I'm not at fights, I'm doing something with my daughter. Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty boring for the most part.
No, not at all, man. That's awesome. Well, hey, listen, I really appreciate you hopping on here with us, Jim. I know you got a busy life. If it's not the gym, like you said, it's your family life. So to take this time with us is super special, and we really do appreciate it.
Oh, anytime, man. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, we are here with the legendary Guerrilla Jiu Jitsu coach, Alex Perez. Go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, me and Richard here, we both had the luxury of training for a little short window of time with Alex here, and phenomenal teacher. For me, being a simpleton growing up in a small town, he did a really great job of just breaking things down simply where even a caveman like myself could understand it. So hats off to you, Alex. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
So
compliment.
Yeah. And that's absolutely genuine and true. How did you get started with jiu-jitsu and just getting into MMA in general?
Yeah, the way I got interested in it was watching UFC. Right, I was in high school during the mid '90s, and I grew up watching boxing, so I have a love for boxing. Just love fighting, and as UFC came out, I was watching that, and I noticed that Hoist was doing something a little bit different. It looked different, right? And it was just really interesting to me. So, me and my buddies would go to this park. It's in Turlock. Can't remember the name right now, but it's by the railroad tracks. But we would do grappling, supposedly. We knew how to do arm bars for mount or kimuras, And then finally, I graduated high school. No more football, no more track. So I didn't have like a sport to play. you know, and I still wanted to be competitive. So I looked in the phone book. This is how long ago this was. And I went to martial arts in the yellow pages, and I just called every single school until I got to one that was dynamic martial arts, which still exists today, right? And I called, and Paul Mendoza, the owner, he answered, and I said, "Hey, do you guys have jiu-jitsu?" He said, "Yeah, we have jiu-jitsu Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at 8 p.m. So I went by, tried out a class, and I loved it. That's how I got started.
And is Dynamic, that's the one in Modesto, right?
Yeah. So
Right here off Kansas.
That's
Yeah.
just like right around the
Or
corner.
not Kansas, Kiernan.
yeah. So I believe they were the first. Paul was the first one to bring jiu-jitsu to Modesto, and he was a blue belt at the time, and he trained at Health Graces in San Francisco. That's where he started.
Okay. And where does that, how do you get into Guerrilla? At what point does that happen?
Okay, so Dave was a student of Health's, trained at Health's in San Francisco. He was a brown belt at the time. So Paul, who's friends with Health, we became an affiliate of Health Gracie. So they would send, instructors from the main academy to, give us material to work on. And Dave would come, once a week, sometimes on a Wednesday or on a Saturday in the morning. And we would just be, waiting for him to come every week because it was like, he was like, the master, and he would teach us, some stuff, and then we would work on that stuff the rest of the week. And then he would come back every week. And that's my connection with Dave. So I met Dave when I was 19. And there was a point where Dave started teaching at AKA, and that was kind of like a conflict with Health. So he had to pick, do you want to be on Health's team and teach for me, or do you want to teach at this other team and you can't come back to this side anymore? So that happened. So when that happened with Dave, we had the same thing at our school in Modesto. This is in Dave's book. And so Paul had his vote, and it was all, I would say the key opinion leaders of the gym. I was one. Brad was another one who trains at UA. John, Adrian. I'm not sure if Sarah was there at the time. I can't remember. But there was like 5 or 6 of us. And, he said, raise your hand if you want to go with Health, or you want to raise your hand if you want to go with Dave. And, Dave was like our friend. And, we were more close to him because we would see him more, right? So we all raised our hands. So we want to go with Dave. And he's like, okay, that's the vote. That's what we're going to go with. Then the next day he changed his mind. I don't blame him because he has his own gym. It's his own business. It's different. And so that's how Dave split away from Health, and he made Guerrilla Jiu Jitsu, which I was the one who made up the name, because I remember when we were at Dynamic and we were going over names. After training, you're just hanging out, talking.
Yeah.
And we were all talking about names and stuff. And I threw out, at this time, this is like 2001, maybe. And we were all I was all into like rebel stuff, like Mexican Revolution, all this kind of like Comandante Marcos and all this Che Guevara and stuff like that. This is like way back then. Now it's like I'm totally different, but we're like Guerrilla Jiu Jitsu because it's like unconventional ways of grappling. Because at that time, Dave, whatever Danaher is like teaching now, feet to floor, judo, wrestling, heisting, we call that forcing sprawl. Dave was doing this, and he was teaching all this back, 2000. He would say, when you're in guard, don't have a lazy guard. You attack with sweeps and submissions. You force sprawl to wrestle, and you get to your feet. You know what I mean? So this is kind of like, that's why we called it Guerrilla, because back then jiu-jitsu was just chill on your back, play a guard, wait for the perfect moment to sweep or submit. There's really no sense of urgency, Dave coming from a judo background, it was a little bit more aggressive, because in judo, you can't really stall. It's just like very dynamic and explosive, So
My back knows.
yeah. So that's how we came up with the name, and he ended up using it, that's the name now of the team. That's basically the origin of Guerrilla Jiu Jitsu right there.
Yeah, and you know what?
I still want my 10% fee.
You should be getting it. He's training Mark Zuckerberg now, dude.
Right?
Which, by the way, Dave training Mark Zuckerberg. I see Dave always post like Alex Pieta, Alexander Volkanovski, Israel Adesanya. Have you gotten to train with any of these elite people, or even Zuckerberg? Have you gotten to tap out the Zuck?
No. So there was a promotions like a year ago at San Jose when Zuck got his blue belt, and I met him very briefly when I was getting out of the car. He was coming out of like a Tahoe or something, and so Dave's brother-in-law, who's Kai, who also trains with Zuck, he's like, "Hey, Patriot, do you want to meet Zuck?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then, it's met him real briefly, shook his hand. I didn't want to bother him because it's probably like a lot of people coming up to him. So, I just introduced myself and he introduced himself. And then we went in the gym. And I saw him train at the promotions, and he's pretty good. You know what I mean? He's like, he got some skill. And it looks like he's been taking things pretty seriously. But yeah, I just met him briefly. I didn't get to train with him though.
So who do you have, Elon Musk or Zuckerberg? That's the real question.
Yeah, I was literally just going to ask that question.
I'm going to have to go with Zuck because he's a gorilla guy, so.
There we go. Got to get it homebred.
So you touched on this a little bit, but can you explain the difference for the audience of like what the difference between, Gracie versus Guerrilla?
Wow. Okay. I think all jiu-jitsu academies are highly influenced by the Gracies. And I have such reverence for like the Gracie family outside of whatever personal things they do outside of jiu-jitsu, because I've read, a lot of books on them, and like Carlos and Elio, just like I think it's really cool how they started the tradition in their family of teaching everyone jiu-jitsu and kind of spreading it throughout the world. Because really, if it wasn't for them, like, none of us would probably be this much into MMA or into jiu-jitsu at all, so I think all the gyms are highly influenced by Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. But I also feel like Dave was like one of the first guys to say, hey, let's bring other arts into jiu-jitsu, like wrestling and judo, because he used to say jiu-jitsu is all encompassing grappling. Like there's no rules. Right, in wrestling, you can't go on your back, you get pinned and you lose. In judo, if you put your back flat on the mat, you lose, right? The match is over. It's not a continuous match. So, I feel like the difference, I think now other academies are teaching this now, wrestling more, forcing the sprawl from the guard, getting up, right? So I think just the difference is the Gracie Academy, they have a very specific curriculum that they do, like the actual Gracie Academy where Henner and Hiron teach. Other places like Valente Brothers, who teach like the first curriculum of the Gracies, like that goes back to like Elio's time, and they're pretty strict and they follow the structure of their curriculum. They don't really go outside of that. So I think we're different. We do a lot of wrestling, we do a lot of judo, and we're just constantly modernizing our style of jiu-jitsu. And just, I think that's the main difference.
Yeah, I could say this. My first exposure to jiu-jitsu was Bahrain jiu-jitsu, and it's a great practice. But when I started to compete, you start to notice the common denominators of like what names are getting up onto the podium. Yeah. And I realized from having a wrestling background how much more ahead I was in those tournaments because, like you'd said, a lot of academies would just, start from the butt, no situational grappling, and they really weren't doing much from their feet. So they were uncomfortable. A lot of people were jumping guard on me because they weren't really comfortable with that part of the process. You kept noticing Guerrilla affiliations up on the podium. So that's what gravitated me towards your gym, because it was local and you have a good name. And right away I noticed the difference going from a certain academy to another. And plus the atmosphere that you created in there, putting the music on and just having good culture and having fun with it at the same time. I wish it was closer to home.
Thank you.
So real quick, not to interrupt, but I don't want to be a rude host. I think I already know the answer, but can I get you Pacifico?
I'll take a water.
Fuck, I don't have water. That's the one thing I don't have.
You know what? Not that I don't drink. I'll drink here and there, but like I'm more of like a tequila. I like mixed drinks.
I mean, I do have beatboxes. If you want a beatbox, I got those.
But if you give me a beer now, but I'll get buzzed. I'll for sure be like getting too buzzed.
I'm gonna grab a drink. You want?
Okay. Sure.
All right, keep it going.
Yeah. So, what inspired you to open up that gym in Turlock?
Well, this goes back to when I first started training. I started training with Paul Mendoza at Dynamic, and he's actually married to my cousin. I didn't know that for a lot of years. He's my second cousin. But this one day I went to his house and I kind of spent the whole day with him, right? And I'm like, all this guy does is train, eat, play video games, sleep, teach. And this is what he does for a living. And I didn't know you could do this for a living, you know? And when I saw that, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to have this as my career because this is something I could see myself doing every single day. So that was like, actually, Paul was actually my inspiration to own my own academy. So that's, I owe that to him. Oh, thank you. I love these actually.
I found them in the fridge.
Yeah.
Thanks,
and also too, I was very fortunate to be at the right place at the right time because Paul, first guy to bring jiu-jitsu to Modesto, he's connected to Dave. And, I've known Dave since I was 19 years old. I'm 43 now, so I've known him more than half my life. I consider him like a brother. And he's one of the most interesting people that I know. You know what I mean? I love listening to him talk. I love listening to him teach or talk on other podcasts. It's kind of weird because we've known each other for a long time. It's kind of like seeing your older brother. You're like, I know, you're not really, but he's really one of the most interesting guys. I'm really lucky to cross paths with him and have him be one of my mentors.
Yeah, and so I guess one thing that I'm noticing is, so that was Paul for you.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have students that are opening up their own academies. So what is that experience like for you?
Man, I love it. I love. I'm happy and I'm proud that I have been able to help other people do something that they love and do it for a living. Mike and Hani, they own the Modesto Academy. They're both my students from white to Hani's not a black yet. He should be, but he's not a black yet. Adam's also my student. He owns the Merced Academy. He's a black belt. He's been with me from white to black. I remember Adam. I remember me being at my desk and Adam sitting like next to me waiting for class to start. And I was like, man, why don't you open your own gym? He's like, I don't know. I'm kind of afraid. I was like, what are you afraid of? Just like, I could see that you really enjoy this, I think you should, take a chance and open your own academy, and he ended up doing it like 2 months later. And I remember him telling me, I don't know if this was like 6 months in or 3 months in, he was already making more than he did at his regular job. And he was just so happy. And it was just, just makes me feel so good to just kind of be a part of that. You know what I mean? So, and there's other people that train at my gym, like Bobby, Purple Belt Bobby. I don't know if you're Paez, I know he teaches at Modern Warrior and Outwater. And
that's our boy's cousin.
Yeah. And he's doing a really good job. And Bobby's a really good guy. And I know he loves training. And I know that makes him happy to teach there. So I'm really proud of him. I'm sure there's other people, but, we'll have more people coming out of my gym, students that are going to be blacks that will open their own academy somewhere, so. And
maybe you can encourage them to open up a true Guerrilla affiliation up on my house.
Man, maybe Dave will open one there one day. Who knows?
That would be a dream come true.
So there's one thing I have a question, but I want to touch on this first. Whenever somebody asks the best jiu-jitsu gym around here, I always say Guerrilla and Turlock. And the video I show them, it's a video on your Facebook. It's you. I think it was a tournament in New York that it starts off. The guy like tries to like get away from you. You drag him back and you take his arm. And you take ownership of that arm.
Oh man, that's such a fun tournament that day.
Yeah. But my question is, I want to touch a little bit on your MMA background because you have some. The fights that are on YouTube. Those are some highlights, man. Those are excellent. What made you kind of transition away from the MMA? And I also know that you had an opportunity to go on Tough. Can you kind of?
Yeah, I had two opportunities.
Can you kind of fill us in on that also?
You want me to talk about the Tough first?
Whichever.
Okay, so I tried out for the Ultimate Fighter 6, which was in Las Vegas at the Palms. I drove up in a car with a bunch of guys from like John, Adrian, a bunch of the guys that own UA. And there was like, I remember there was like 1,000 people there. You had to make a profile, you had to have video. So we brought tape of me training. I went and trained with Nick and Nate. This is when we were purple belts. I have footage of me doing like sparring with Nick, with Nate, and training at the gym that they used to train at. It was called, it was a Taekwondo gym. I can't remember the guy's name that owned it. It was a Mexican guy. I can't remember his name right now. But so I got there at 8 o'clock, and I think it ended at like 9 or 10 in the evening. So we were like there all day. You had to do grappling matches against people. You hold mitts and you do all kinds of striking drills. There was no sparring, like striking sparring at that time. And I remember when I did the grappling, I submitted like every guy that I rolled with, I submitted them. And then every round they would eliminate people, right? And then the group would get smaller and smaller. And then during the striking round, at that time, I was doing a lot of boxing with my coach. His team called Team Execution. He moved to LA already, but
They were part of your gym back in the day.
Back
UA.
in the day, yeah. So Coach Ron, who's to this day like one of my favorite coaches. He taught boxing the same way Dave teaches jiu-jitsu. It was like so technical, and it was like so many layers of boxing that he knew. So my boxing was really good at that time, and I remember I was hitting the mitts and doing all kinds of drills. And then Dana came up to me and he's like, "What's your name?" So I told him my name, and he got my profile because everyone had like a manila folder, and he brought it out, and he's like looking at it. He's like, can you kick? And I was like, yeah, I could kick. So he's like, told the guy, do some hold pads so we could throw some kicks. So I threw some kicks, and he's watching me, and then he comes back and he's like, can you speak Spanish? I was like, yeah. He's like, can you do an interview on Univision? I was like, sure. And then so I was like, oh man, I think I'm in, because like Dana's talking to me, And then so I did an interview after that on this TV station. It's called Univision. It's like one of the more popular Spanish stations, right? And that commercial was on the UFC website for a while back then. I would always go back and look at it, And then I made it all the way to the end. So there's like, I think there was 40 people at the very end, right? And we're all in this room, and it's like 9 o'clock. We're like all tired because we're like training all day and waiting, And I remember at that time, Tough was on Spike, and so the whoever like the producer or one of the people for the team, he comes in, he's like, all right guys, next you guys are gonna do an interview with the Spike production team, and you gotta make up a story, like create a character, because that's the most important thing at this point. You guys already made it here. Everyone here is good. We just want to get characters for like the television, right? And so I'm like, super nervous because I'm not very good at speaking. At that time I was not good at all. And then I remember it was my turn to go up, and it was like a long table, and it was kind of dark, and there was like lights, and they're like, all right, tell me a little bit about yourself. I talked for like maybe a minute, and they're like, all right, nice meeting you. And they sent me out. I didn't get on, but it was a cool experience. I also tried out for the UFC, the Ultimate Fighter 10 with Clay Guida, and Clay Guida was actually there, and I made it all the way to the end, like the first time, but I never got into the house. So this is when they didn't. So that was the last one, because I think after that one, if you made it to the last 40, you actually fought, and the winners went into the house, right? That's how they used to do it. That's how they started doing it. But the ones that I went to, they would just pick you, So that's my experience with the Ultimate Fighter. But it was fun. I had a good time.
Okay.
What about the bouts in the cage? Because you did have some fights.
Yeah, and how did that transition to jiu-jitsu?
I remember the reason why I wanted to fight is, one, because I love competing, but I also wanted to see if I can actually do what I thought I could do, right? Like I'm like, I think I could do well, but you don't know, right? Maybe I'll quit. Maybe I get my ass kicked or something, So I wanted to test myself. So I remember Paul was like, all right, if you're going to do MMA, you got to do like a bunch of amateur boxing fights. You got to do a lot of no-gi tournaments to like prepare yourself for that, So I fought a lot of amateur boxing. I would do smokers all the time at Tony's, Bad to the Bone, Red Shield in Modesto, get beat up sometimes because I wasn't doing boxing like full time, And then so my first fight was I did this one match where it was like we went to, it was like in Marysville or Oroville or something like that. And that was the first time I ever like fought in front of people. And it was like 2 in 1 day. So it was like under 200 pounds. Cause I remember like one guy was a lot bigger than me, but I ended up winning both the matches by like submission. And even one match I jumped guard. Like that's how like inexperienced I was, right? And there was like all kinds. I remember a lot of motorcycles were there. It was like Hell's Angels were there or something. Cause I remember like a whole line of like bikes, you know? And then after that I fought in Gladiator Challenge. And I remember my first fight, everyone was really afraid because the guy was pretty stacked, you know. And then I remember a bunch of my friends like, man, that guy's kind of big, you know, like, and my teammates are like a little bit worried, you know. And I was kind of like not afraid of the guy, but I just didn't want to lose in front of my friends. So I didn't invite anybody. Like I didn't tell anybody I was fighting. I didn't tell my family. Some people found out and they came, you know, but I just remember it was just waking up that morning and like have like such high anxiety, like you know, because they're gonna fight that day. And I was like, you know, I had to take multiple naps to like relax myself, you know. And then I just remember warming up in the corner, and Joe Cotto, I don't know if you guys know who Cotto is.
Sounds super familiar.
Yeah, he's trained with me for a long time. He fought before me. And I remember he was like 2 or 3 fights before my fight. And I remember the crowd going like crazy, like the crowd's going crazy, right? And he's walking back after the fight and his face is like all messed up. Like he's cut, he's all, you know, beat up. He ended up losing the fight. And he sits down on the chair. And I'm like right here and he's like over there. And he's like, he's crying because he lost, you know. And I'm like, damn, I'm about to go out in like 2 more fights. You know, and I can't even like pay attention to him. You know, I wanted to go console him, but I'm like, I can't let him steal my energy, you know. And I just remember how much anxiety I had when the lady, because there's a person that will come back and they'll say, Perez, you're on deck. That means you're going to go next. And it's like, oh my God, I'm going next. Like, you know, but when I walked out, I had no emotion. Like I just ice cold, you know, because I just had like this mindset, like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm just going to try my best and whatever's going to be is going to be, you know. And I took the guy down. I wanted to take the guy down as fast as I could because they said he was a kickboxer. So I didn't want to get kicked. I didn't want to get knocked out, you know. And I ended up submitting him. So, you know, that was a pretty cool experience.
Was that the one where you slammed the guy?
Yeah, the first guy I fought.
That's my favorite one.
I punched him to the fence and then I double legged him. I was able to lock my hands behind his legs, and I was able to lift him up. And I hurt my shoulder when I slammed him down, and I like cracked my collarbone or something. But I injured my shoulder because I felt it pop, and then I had so much adrenaline, like I didn't even pay attention. But I was just like, I cannot let this guy get back up. I need to finish him like right now, you know. And I was able to do it, but it was a cool experience.
Yeah, you dragged him into your world, it sounds like.
Guy was strong though, man. Guy was so strong.
Hey, I remember training at your gym during COVID. You know what?
Oh, you were there too?
Yeah.
In the morning?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
A few times.
that I had so much respect for you for handling it the way you did, you know, because that was just a weird time and it's total BS and the way the laws were set up. I mean, it wasn't in favor of small businesses, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the adversities that you experience owning a gym that people probably don't even consider
during that time,
or just in general?
Well, during COVID, it was kind of a weird time, like when it first happened, because none of us knew what was going on, and I was like, you know, I was a little bit worried, you know, like, man, I might have to get another job, you know what I mean? Like, I might not be able to run my gym anymore. So I was already in my mind thinking I might have to go get a trade job. I used to be in the Carpenters Union when I was younger, and you know, thank God I didn't have to do that. You know, ended up, you know, Turlock wasn't too strict of a town, right? People were still a little bit more free, but I taped my windows and I was inviting people. I was really careful because I didn't want to get in trouble, you know. So, you know, people would message me, hey, I heard you guys are training. Could we train? I would be like, yeah, just coming through the back door, you know. And we had some of the most hardest training sessions. They were like 2 hours, nothing but just positional sparring, you know. And I remember some of the guys that were there during that time that were white belts, they became so good during that time because all we did was just hard training for those 2 hours. But I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad it wasn't, COVID was not what people thought it was, and we were able to, continue our lives and do what we like. But I think one of the main adversities of opening your own business is just your own self. Sometimes you doubt yourself. Is this going to work? I don't know if I can do it. What if somebody else comes and opens one better than mine? So I think that's probably like the hardest part when I first opened it. Now I'm older and I understand more about business, and it's not about, if another gym comes in town or this or that. It's more just you do your job like the best that you can and create a cool environment, like you were saying. And, if people who like your gym, they're going to want to train there no matter what, that's kind of like how I approach it,
Yeah. So during the COVID thing, I remember because we came into the back, and that was the one time where I walked on the bat with my shoes on. I'm like, I'm about to get smacked right now. But no, this is something I've always wondered about, owning a gym and whatnot. Is there like a non-compete clause where they can't open a gym in a certain boundary?
No. Like within our affiliation, there is, like, if you want to be a Guerrilla affiliate, you can't be, there's like a radius of like 15 miles, that's be like a 15-mile cushion. But other gyms, no. I think it would probably be disrespectful if I was to go open a gym right next to somebody else's gym, like right next to them. I probably wouldn't do that, But as far as like, is there any rules? No, because everyone's their own separate business, And I think that like the more jiu-jitsu gyms there is, the more people train jiu-jitsu. Because if you think about how many weightlifting gyms are there in one town, right? Like there's In Shape, there's like 10 different gyms.
Unless you live in Oakdale.
Yeah. And they're all and they're all full.
Yeah.
And they're all full. It's just another activity that people can do. And I feel like, people are always going to want to do something. You know what I mean?
Hey, share with us some, cool training stories that you've had with Dave over the years.
Oh man, I have a lot.
Like something that just sticks out with you the most, like most memorable.
Most memorable. I just remember I had so much fun going to San Francisco and training at House when Dave was like a brown belt, because he wasn't even a black belt yet. And like Kurt Osiander was there. I don't know if you guys know who Kurt is. He was a brown belt. There were so many good high level people there at the time, and just being able to train with health and in that environment, it was just like super hard training and like kill training. And I just really, at that time when I was young, I just really enjoyed that training environment, because it's just 100% competitive. I would never let anyone pass my guard, never let anyone submit me. It's just like, there's no like, let your partner, get some moves on you, there's none of that back then. It's just like, you roll with the guy, you smash him, like there's no like, let him beat you, But Dave is so much different now. He's such more calm and more relaxed, but he's super competitive. So I remember this one time we were in Pleasanton, and we were doing line sparring where we have a line and we're rotating. And Dave likes to train really intense, and sometimes there's no time limit. You just keep going till somebody gets submitted. And I remember I was giving him a hard time. I'm not sure if I submitted him that time or not, but he got really upset and he like kicked the wall. And when he kicked the wall, there was a TV there, and the TV fell. It almost fell on top of me. You know what I mean? And he was like all frustrated that he kicked the wall and he almost made the TV fall on me. It was just funny. But if you know Dave, like growing up, like he's super competitive, and there was a lot of moments like that. But I never like took it personal, because I'm super competitive too. Even though like at the gym I'm super chill, but I'm like really competitive, and I hate losing, but that's like one story.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough when I was training at Guerrilla that I got to participate when Dave did a seminar, And just the warm up, dude, was brutal. We're like doing chucking someone over your shoulder all the way down and all the way back, and and then he's doing multiple threads. You know, you start off doing one thing, and all of a sudden after 10 minutes, you got 20 different moves going on. He's definitely an intense guy. But did you ever get to cross train at AKA when he was training there?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention this. One of my other most memorable training sessions, just training at AKA. Was super fun for me, and I was only able to do that because Dave was there. And I remember I would go like 2 or 3 times a week, and it was a drive because I'm driving from Turlock all the way to San Jose, which is like a 2-hour drive, and I worked, so I'd have to come back. And at that time, I either worked at Red Lobster at the time, and I was able to train with Josh Thompson, Mike Swick, Cormier, Koscheck, John Fitch, and at the time, Swick, Koscheck, and Fitch were like top 5 in the world in the welterweight division in UFC. And I remember Dave used to teach a class that was from 11 to 12, which is the gi class. So I would do that class, and then from 12 to 2 was the pro training, the MMA training, and I would also do that. And so I got Rockhold too. Luke was like 19 at that time. He was a little bit younger than me. I was able to do MMA training with them, sparring, striking, grappling, for a few years, and I was in 2 camps. And somebody was just telling me the other day that I was either in Fitch's documentary or in the book where he talks about me being in the camp.
He put your black belt on you, right?
No, did he? I'm not sure.
I thought I saw that in a YouTube video.
He might have. I can't remember, but he was. I think he was there still at that time. But I remember I was in Fitch's camp for BJ Penn and for GSP. So those are some really good, memorable training. Just because I got to see what it takes to be at the highest level. The commitment, and you could commit and try your best and still not make it. There's so many guys there that never made it. You know what I mean? Like, Phil Baroni was there. I remember seeing Phil Baroni there. I don't know if you guys even know who Phil Baroni is. That's from like early UFC days. The New York Badass. Remember this guy? Okay,
this is before I got into it. So I was I was probably like 8 years old when this was going on.
I was gonna ask you if you ever had any exchanges with Habib.
No.
You ran into him in Frisco though.
I did, but I didn't train at AK when Habib was there. That was like Dave had already left, and then Habib came after that. I've only seen like Cain, Cormier, Thompson, and all those guys. I've trained a lot of rounds with them. Even private training, because even for grappling, I trained a lot of rounds with Koscheck. I remember this one story where he was working on ground and pounding somebody against the fence. And this is a good story. And it was me and Koscheck. I get him in a triangle and I submit him, right? And then Dave's like, all right, go again. I get him another triangle and I submit him, right? And then Koscheck's like super frustrated, like getting really pissed off. And then the third time, I triangle him again. He like picks me up, he slams me, and I submitted him again, right? And he gets up like so frustrated. He goes to this cardio room at the AKA where they do the Aerodyne bike. And I just hear him like throwing things. I just hear like machines like like breaking machines, yelling and stuff. And I was like, oh crap. I didn't want him to like punch me or anything, But I had a lot of good times training there. It was fun just to be around, some of the best guys in the world, getting the opportunity to do that.
In one hand, he's frustrated because, obviously you're going to take that as a loss. But on the other hand, he's got to be super thankful that he was getting those exchanges with you before he went into a fight, right? Because you learn so much through the trial and error, through the failures.
I don't know if he was thinking about that at that time. But.
No, it doesn't sound like it. Doesn't sound like it. But you grow so much more through your losses.
Yeah. You know who was so good? Mike Swick. I always thought Swick was so good. Even grappling, he was just probably like one of the hardest guys to train with there. Him and Fitch. Like Fitch was just so strong and just so hard to submit, But I, you know, so many good people like Rockhold. I just remember I knew Rockhold would be in UFC for sure. He was just so good, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I kind of want to dive into this. Are you still salsa dancing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it true that if you're good at fighting, like that translates to, you know, being good at dancing?
No, because I'm terrible. I'm terrible. Yeah, so I do Latin dance at Allegra Ballroom Dancing in Turlock. And so Latin dance is basically like salsa, bachata, merengue, mambo, like cha-cha-cha, like that kind of stuff. But I do mostly like salsa and bachata, right? So I've always wanted to learn how to dance. Because, you know, when you grow up like Mexican, there's always like parties and everyone's always dancing. And I never knew how to dance, you know. So that's why I started taking lessons. And my dance teacher is really good. I'm just like not good, you know. I don't have like the rhythm, you know. But I still take lessons every week there. So it's fun. I like it.
So you've been doing that for years then?
I've been doing that for like 4 years.
On top of the chess.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I play chess too. Love playing chess.
I feel like that just goes hand in hand with like a jiu-jitsu master, you know, someone who's a black belt who's really good at the technique and, you know, taking your time and really just like it's checkmate. But that's check or no, that is chess actually, not checkers. I'm an idiot, but I just feel like, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand. Chess, jiu-jitsu is pretty much a chess game.
Yeah, I found that like I like learning things that have structure, you know, and dance has structure. If you ever done dance, there's like a structure to it. There's like a count, you know, like salsa is a 7 count, and there's a specific you do specific moves on specific numbers, and it's just like jiu-jitsu. It's like there's a structure to it, you know, so there's like an order of how things work, and that's why I enjoy chess too, you know, and it's competitive. That's another reason why I like it. But I like doing, you know, other things other than jiu-jitsu. Yeah, jiu-jitsu is my favorite thing. But
I know I remember us pulling up to the gym one day, and you're like, "Yeah, I'll be right back." Full gi, everything. I'm gonna go get coffee. I'd love to be the guy. I'd love to be the guy in that gas station. Watch you walk in the gi, be like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?"
He's like, "Go right ahead, sir.
Don't hurt me."
I'm in no hurry.
I usually don't go in my gi, but that time I didn't want to change. I was in a rush.
So, do you have any aspirations to open up a second gym, or do you like having it just be in one intimate gym for yourself?
I would like to open another location. Maybe have you know, one of my students run it, and maybe be like a part owner of it, or maybe one of my nephews, because my nephews train. You know, they wrestle at Turlock, and they do jiu-jitsu at my gym. They do boxing too, but just to run 2 gyms by myself would be really hard, just because I would be spread too thin, you know. I think it would be a lot of stress. But I think before I open another academy, I would like to expand my gym and make it like twice the size that it is now. 2 mat spaces, have 2 classes running at the same time.
Maybe that elevated space you're talking about for the mats.
Oh yeah. So whenever I do move to a new location, definitely going to do like subfloor, you know, easier on the body. It's just, you could do throws and takedowns without really injuring yourself, you know. Yeah. But I think two academies simultaneously would be pretty hard.
So at any point, do you think are you looking to expand? Are you looking for a new facility?
No, yeah, I'm always looking at buildings. It's just so hard because the location that I have is so good. You know, you guys run on my place. It's like it's storefront. It's on Folkearth. I mean, the other street that would be better than Folkearth would be Monte Vista, which is like, you know, hard to find space on that street. You know, if I could find something that's around 4,000 square feet, you know, in a nice area, I would do it for sure. You know, because I really think that having 2 mats and having 2 different classes at the same time that'd be like that'd probably be the best case situation. You know, and I would like to do other things like have like some kind of recovery room or
the ice bath.
You know, ice bath. I even thought of having a coffee shop. You know, like
just, Tim Welch.
yeah, right. And just kind of opening under the same umbrella or something like that. But I had like kind of like this vision of having like the jiu-jitsu gym, a recovery place where we have like an ice bath and sauna, and we have like
the red light and all that.
Yeah, we have recovery stuff there, you know, and then maybe like maybe a gym with weights where like when parents drop their kids off, they can go work out and they just have like a key card or something like that. So that's something that I have in mind.
Have you thought about adding a MMA program to the academy?
I haven't, but I would like at some point to coach like some MMA guys, you know, but I know it takes a lot of time. It's like,
Yeah,
I've seen
out corner and all that.
Yeah, I've seen Dave do it, and I know it takes a lot of time. You have to dedicate a lot of time to people. But I would like to do it at some point.
Yeah,
maybe somebody else run the program or something.
I have a proposal for you. Dave's training Zuckerberg. Why don't you train Elon, dude? Why don't we get a full in-house Guerrilla tournament going, dude?
I know, man. That would be cool. That would be super cool.
Look, we got to call Trump. Let's get him in touch with Elon ASAP.
That'd be cool. I'll train Trump. That'd be awesome.
Oh, there you go. Hey, he already took a bullet, so he's ready to go.
I know.
Shit.
You know what you got to do is you got to go into Brenda's and Turlock and tell them to kick rocks, and that you're gonna run that as a Guerrilla Jiu Jitsu academy.
Man,
like the old Gracie's going and fight him for the gym.
That'd be a cool place, man. That'd be a cool spot.
Because they got multi-layers, they got the swimming pool.
Oh yeah,
you could like have it. It's like Guerrilla lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean Brenda's, man. They could have a deli in there, a restaurant. I mean, that place would be awesome.
We're talking about the UFC PI right now.
I actually went to the PI.
Did you really?
Yeah. So I'm getting married at the end of this month. So
congratulations,
dude! Congrats.
Thank you. One of my best friends, his uncle is the PED. He's the head of the PED testing in UFC. And so as a gift for like my bachelor party, he gave us 4 tickets for free to the Apex. And
for a fight night, or
for a fight night at the Apex, right? So this was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is when the 2 chicks fought, 2 Brazilian girls fought at the main event. Jabona, or I forgot her name. She's really good.
I know we covered it, but we watched so many fucking fights.
Yeah, she did a nice Kimura grip arm lock from the back, the girl. But the day before, we had a 2-hour tour of the PI, and it was with Nowitzki. And it was super cool, and he did such a good job of like taking his time and explaining everything about the PI, and it was like super cool to see everything. And then like the UFC staff, one thing that I noticed that the staff of the UFC is like top notch.
Lemos versus Verna.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, we went to that one.
Yeah, dude, we were making fun of Verna because she looks like Rob Schneider.
Oh yeah, she kind of does.
Oh yeah,
hey, she looks like Rob Schneider and Crazy Ass from Mr. Deeds.
we went in on her, but yeah, that's kind of
that's dope though. So Apex seating, it's super intimate. It's like pretty much everything's cage side, right?
Yeah. The way they explained it to me was there's one side where it's like general public and family of fighters, and this is what Nowitzki was explaining to me. And then it says that you can buy these tickets where you're on a kind of like a sofa and you have a table. Those are like $5,000 or something like that.
Ooh, wow.
But you're on a sofa hanging out, you know, and you have access to all the food. And then we had VIP tickets, so we were able to go in the back. There was like a buffet. There was like fighters back there. There was a couple that I recognized, like Michael Johnson was there. Marab was there.
Did you tell him that he's getting knocked out by Sugar?
No. I didn't want to bother any of the fighters. Who else was there? Usman was there.
Really?
Yeah. So he was sitting with who's the manager of Usman?
Ali
was there.
Yeah, I can't say his last name,
but I think his brother fought. So they were like, he was coaching him from
That's right.
Yeah, Muhammad Usman.
Yeah, his brother fought I think it was the first fight, and I saw him in the back too when I was getting food, but I didn't want to bother him. But it was cool. It was cool to watch. You could hear everything, you know, hear all the punches, and it was kind of cool. The fights were good. The best fight was the Brazilian guy Silva. He was losing.
Was it Durant or Cody or
he was
opponent?
losing the whole fight. He was almost got submitted,
and then he knocked him out, right?
He did hit him with the uppercut, stunned him, then finished him. Yeah, it was such a good
funny
fight.
story. The guy that he knocked out, we hit up to be on our podcast. Yeah. He saw my message. I saw that I seen it, but he looked at all my stories, so I knew he ignored me. I was like, all right. So we picked against him. I'm like, all right, I hope you fucking get knocked out. Sure enough.
Yeah, he was actually winning the fight.
I know, but him getting knocked out was perfect.
Oh, dude, that was the best finish of the night. That was such a good fight.
So out of any UFC fighter, if you could roll with him, who would it be? Would it be Charles?
Any UFC fighter, who would I roll with?
I could see you rolling with Oliveira.
Oh, like current UFC guys?
Any at all.
Probably like Damian Maia or something.
That's a good
I
one.
think Damian Maia is the best. He was the best grappler in UFC.
Yeah.
You know?
Up until Colby went on his hell streak after he beat him.
Oh, yeah. But did you see when Maia destroyed, what's his name?
Ben Askren?
No, not Ben Askren. He has his own talk show, his own podcast. UFC fighter. He fought Silva. You know what I'm talking about. Really good talker. What's his name?
Yeah.
He fought Silva twice.
Are you talking about Chael?
Sonnen.
Chael Sonnen.
Okay.
Didn't Maia fight Chael Sonnen?
Did he?
And he mount triangled him?
Because I thought Maia was 170 and Chael's 185.
No. Because Maia went up to 185. And I remember when he fought Chael Sonnen, he body locked, took down Chael Sonnen to the ground. And I think he like mount triangled him. I thought that was great. That was pretty impressive.
I'm looking up the record right now.
Is that real?
I'm looking it up. Just give me a second, man.
I'm pretty sure.
We were just talking about Chael. The guy's a freaking.
Yeah, he's the biggest MMA podcaster in the space. Yeah. Lost to Damian Maia.
Yeah.
Sure enough. Sub triangle choke.
Yeah.
Round one.
Yeah, it was
Damn, first round.
the transition and on that triangle is like insane.
Dude,
do that in an MMA match.
That's the second wrestler Damian Maia smashed. Ben Askren too. I remember I watched that fight live. All the crowd was chanting jiu-jitsu while Ben Askren was getting smashed by Damian Maia.
That was an entertaining match. That was entertaining. I wish Ben Askren could have came when he was in his prime. Like,
yeah,
I think he had like hip surgery or something. He was already kind of messed up by the time he came to UFC.
And then Masvidal's knee found his chin, and then Jake Paul found his way into a easy win.
Yeah,
The rest is history on that one. Shit.
Yeah.
Ben got his money though. He got his money though. I think he made it like $1 million or so from that fight. That boxing match.
He has that talk show with Daniel Cormier, and I commented on it. I'm like, that's the guy that Jake Paul beat up, and everybody's all PandaMMANews. You should know this. I'm like, it's satire. Like, hey, come on, man. No, that's awesome, dude. Who is Dave? Would you say is Dave your hardest role?
Yeah, when he's in the mood to train, definitely one of my hardest roles for sure. I think right now my hardest role is probably Cruz.
Dominic?
Mike Cruz.
Oh,
yeah, from Modesto.
Okay.
You know, he's probably my hardest. So Matt too. I'd say those are my three toughest.
Okay. Mike Cruz, the Guerrilla at Modesto.
Yeah.
I kept thinking Dominic Cruz. I'm like, who the fuck?
Yeah, and Matt from San Jose. He's the owner of the San Jose Guerrilla. We used to, like before COVID, we used to all get together on Fridays for black belt training at Pleasanton. So we'd meet at the Pleasanton Academy, and it was like, you know, we would do like, all right, we're gonna do 3-5. We're gonna do 5 rounds and see who wins. You know, like kind of like how they did in the CGI. And we'd always go back and forth, you know, and it was always fun because we'd always come up with something new next week. Like if he beat me Friday, like the next Friday, I would come back with something new that would surprise him. You know, it was kind of cool. But I would say Matt, Dave, Mike Cruz, maybe Douglas. I don't know if you guys remember Douglas, big Brazilian guy that goes to my gym. He's super tough too.
I got smashed so many times in the gym that all the faces kind of meshed together. So CGI, speaking of that, would you roll with Gabby?
Dude, Gabby would probably destroy me, man. She's so good.
Dude,
have you ever seen her roll with Marcelo Garcia? Like
I never saw her until I saw her tower over Craig. I'm like, oh my god, that's a lot of woman.
You should see her when she's standing next to Vanderlei Silva. She made Vanderlei Silva look like a baby, you know. That's when I was like, dang,
is Craig that good, or was she just not really trying?
No, I think Craig is one of the best.
Yeah, it's Volkanovski's
Craig is one of the best
coach, dude.
Yeah,
I know. I'm just like, he just was able to toy with her. Like he was literally like kind of boot scoot at her.
Yeah, but he walks around with $1 million cash. He's confident. I think he's good.
I mean, Craig in his prime. Who's the only guy better than him? Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon.
Gordon was.
But Gordon also roided up to the gills.
Yeah, but yeah, of course. Hey, he's good too. I mean, he's good, but I mean, they're both roided to the gills, I think.
Yeah. That's the one thing about jiu-jitsu that kind of bothers me is the fact there's no real like PED testing, so you can just be roided up like crazy. You'd be like Vanderlei Silva back in the day. Or
that's kind of crazy. I mean, I think it's crazy when it's kind of how do you say it? You know, when the younger generation sees people do that and they feel like they need to do it.
Yeah,
it's kind of, you know, I feel it's something maybe when you're older, you know, 40 years old, maybe get on some TRT or something, you know. But when you're young, probably don't need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's why I lost my hair. That's why my hairline went to my chin.
Did you guys watch CGI?
I watched the highlights just so we could, recap it.
Yeah, it was pretty entertaining. I liked it.
The whole event, the shit talking,
way better than
in
ADCC.
between, like while the scramble was going on and everything, and it was just you could tell because he made that bet that he was gonna get her in what was it, like an ankle lock or something like that. And
He wasn't it RNC though that he submitted her with.
Yeah, but you could tell like he had a lot of opportunities to submit her that he bailed on because he kept trying to go back to that. But I think at some point he was just like, screw it, I'm just gonna finish this. I'm done with it. But he didn't even get it like under the chin or anything. He just like kind of just like her chin was still in there.
Well, get your chin craned, dude. You'll learn real quick how fast you tap when you can't chew right for 5 days.
Oh, believe me, I've had my chin freaking jacked many times.
My favorite memory of Guerrilla though is rolling with Alex. It was probably like my first like couple months there. He's having a full-blown conversation with the guy next to me while he's manhandling me. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, at least make me feel a little good. Jesus.
Yeah, I enjoyed having you guys as students, though. You guys are always, like, very respectful and just, good students. Enjoyed having you guys there.
Hey, as long as I, right now I'm not doing anything, but as long as I do jiu-jitsu, like, I will always go back to Guerrilla, as long as I'm in the area.
Yeah.
Guerrilla is I kind of look at it as my home for jiu-jitsu. It's where I started my jiu-jitsu journey, even though it didn't last long. That's where I started it. And your teaching though is just it's so legit. You put so much like effort in explaining on every little movement, every little detail, and you show it so many times that when it comes time, and also you're walking around the mat and correcting people's form and everything. It helps so much, and it made it so. I don't know. I actually felt like I could handle myself a little bit on the ground, Yeah.
No, you guys are both good. You guys are both really good students.
The wrestling helped, but as soon as I started getting into the realm of I couldn't even hold my weight against any of the blue belts or anything. It was just like, it was tough.
Yeah, when you got Bobby, who's half your size, submitting you in 10 seconds, and you're like, oh my god.
Jiu-jitsu really is like a superpower. It's like
it is
magic.
Yeah,
it's really like magic.
You're like David Houdini.
I would like to think I knew a little bit of something, but when I roll with you, and you could literally just lay there, and I'm like unable to submit you in any way or fashion. I'm like, this doesn't even make sense anymore. I'm like, that's the freaking
does not compute.
Part of being a black belt is also to be a magician, apparently, because it's like this is not real right now. You just I'm like, okay.
This is the sound you make.
Seriously, and then whenever he was just over it, he just turned up the heat really quick. And,
it's over. What do you know? I had full side control, and now I'm on my back.
Just when I thought I was getting somewhere, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, no. Honestly, I personally think that your training for jiu-jitsu is the best in the area, 100%. Like, I've had the pleasure of cross training with other gyms and whatnot when I was training under you, and it just seemed like the people that were at my level and the same experience, it just seemed like I was miles ahead of them because like the simple stuff, because you do so much positional sparring.
Yeah.
You get so good on working on those areas like off your back and from RNC already initiated, you get really good at getting out of those.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like doing you guys hear a lot about like ecological training, or you guys hear about this at all? Like
no,
the ecological approach to training.
I might have, but I'm kind of
slow. It's
like
some new trend in jiu-jitsu, I guess, where it's like it's more you put the people in the position, you let them kind of figure it out. So you're getting a lot of reps in a specific spot, and you actually will learn a lot more that way.
That's what
we've been doing that forever. And I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I didn't know I was doing that, but
I just called it positional sparring. Yeah, I don't know.
So is what you're saying is like, for example,
someone has your back already.
Someone already has your back, and if you make an error, you highlight why that's and then like kind of go reset, and then you go back to it and like keep. For example, if the arm's like attacking the arm, getting it over your head and getting your head to the outside, kind of thing.
So we'll just have like specific goals from a position. Like we'll say, okay, we're gonna spar from the back, and one simple one could be like if the guy escapes, then you just restart. The guy has your back again, right? If he submits you, then you just restart the guy. Then that way you get to work a lot of back escapes and the guy on the bottom gets to work a lot of back control, right? And then maybe we'll start off and say, then I'll say, okay, if you escape but he goes to mount, you keep going, because that's not an actual real escape, right? If I escape the back and you mount me, I'm still in a bad position. And then we just keep layering it, until people get a really good understanding of that. And then we add variables, show you like different submissions from that position, or different types of escapes, like for example, how to get out of a body triangle, which a lot of people don't know how to do. And then we'll go over specific things. That way, when you come to class and you're there for an hour, you're actually putting a lot of specific time in one thing, and you're learning that one position, as opposed to like if I show you a technique and then we just start sparring, because you might not ever get to that position. You know how hard it is. Like if you roll with the blue belt and we're doing guard passing, you might not even open his guard.
Yeah,
you might not ever even get a chance to be in side control. If we just sparred, it's like, man, I've never even been top side control ever in sparring. If you're a white belt, right? So this gives you a chance to kind of be able to work a lot of different positions. So that's why I like formatting the class in that way.
Did you show me the hat you're wearing? I just noticed it.
What?
Did you show him the hat you're wearing? I just noticed it.
Oh,
cool. That's one of the best hats right there.
I just noticed it. That's why I was like,
is that the green one?
I have the green one.
Okay, yeah, that's
the green one's like mint condition, dude.
Those things sold out like instantly once I got it.
Actually,
everyone asked me for the hats all the time.
No, you ran out and then you found this one and you're like, here, dude, you can have it.
Oh, I did.
you gave me this.
Yeah,
hat.
I remember I keep bugging Matt, like, dude, are you gonna make hats again? Because Matt from San Jose, he's in charge of all the merch. He's the one that designs all the merch. I don't remember if he told me the hats are really expensive to make. That's why he hasn't made them again. But everyone wants the hats.
Yeah, this is my favorite hat. Wear it all the time.
If I wore hats, I'd probably wear it.
You don't ever wear hats?
He's got so good of a hairline, dude.
I just don't look good with hats. I don't know. I don't look good with hats, so that's why I don't wear them.
Got too good of a hairline. He's showing that shit off.
Hey, Richard, you go to Turkey, man. You could have a hairline like that.
I could, but I don't have enough money, so that's why I'm podcasting, brother. I'm trying to get that money.
You guys did a really good job, man. I checked out a couple of your videos, and I liked it. I liked the setup.
Yeah, I feel like we do good on the interviews. It's whenever we record the podcast, it's usually after the fights. It's like 11 p.m.
Yeah.
So we're both already kind of on the verge of hammered.
Yeah.
So
On the verge, dude.
That's
the verge.
That's where the hardcore takes come from.
No, dude, he way undershot that. We start drinking at like 7 a.m.
Oh, geez.
And then we're recapping at 11 p.m. at night.
Wow.
So this is over 12 hours of drinking
Yeah.
by the time we actually recap this thing at the end of the episode. So that's a big part of why we wear glasses.
Yeah.
Because like otherwise people would see
all the lights.
we'd be looking cross-eyed, and we don't want that, because at least we could try to like get some words out. But
Yeah.
if people just see our that
Makes it
we're
more
cross-
fun.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever did what do they? It's the fight. What Rogan and them does?
Like a fight companion?
Yeah, fight companion.
I try to do a live one every now and again. I don't think we really have a big enough following. I mean, we over the 3 platforms, we probably got like 11,000 followers,
Yeah.
but it's just hard to get people to tune in and whatnot.
Yeah,
But we do try. But I don't
that'd
know.
be kind of cool.
Once we get bigger, we'll be able to do that. Hopefully, it's hard to do it when people in the comments are just kind of pulling an Ian Gary and cucking in the corner, just watching and not even commenting.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, clearly we're not nutritionists.
Dude, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. If I shave my chest, I have a 6-pack. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Oh shoot. Well, we're over an hour. We can keep going or whatever. I got nothing to do, so it's up to you guys.
Let's cut it right here.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Alex, for joining us. We appreciate you coming out here, coming to the studio, and joining us in this and giving us some insight. Real quick, actually, I just thought of this before we end this. I want to hear something about these sparring sessions with the Diaz brothers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I gotta hit that.
Oh, man, it's such a long time ago. I was
He's like
like 24, 25. No, man, those guys are so tough. I just remember when I was boxing with them, they were like super high volume. They threw a lot of punches, and I would go train at their gym after I would teach at my gym, right? So I'd go to their gym like at 10 o'clock at night because they would train from like 10 to 12 and like beyond 12 a.m., But yeah, I was always just super exhausted after training with those guys, especially I remember sparring Nick and he was telling me like, because I was always when you come up traditional boxing, it's like be efficient, throw like, I would be throwing power punches, and stuff like that. He's like, no, just throw a lot of punches lighter, just a lot of volume, I just remember being super exhausted training with those guys, but it was a good time.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's exactly how they fight.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? Punches and bunches. They just throw 20%, 20%, and randomly 100%. Yeah, they're.
And Nick's gonna fight again.
Yeah, which I don't like the matchup. I just think Luque.
Who's he fighting again?
Luque, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Luque is too young, and he's a heavy hitter. I mean, he almost knocked out Tyrone. The last fight Tyrone fought in the UFC, which after Jake Paul did, it's not too impressive. But I don't know. I just feel like the age gap and everything. If it was 10 years ago, yeah. But now I just feel like Luque is going to dominate it.
Still exciting. I still kind of want to see.
I'm definitely.
It looks like he's in shape. It looks like he's been training pretty hard. Like he's back dedicated.
I was there when he fought Robbie though, the rematch, and luckily, I bet on him. That
was hard to watch. That was hard to watch.
I bet on Nick on the books, but there's some drunk idiot outside that had Nick. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm taking Robbie. And then once Robbie did it, I got in his face. I'm like, where's my $100, motherfucker? But yeah, man, we really appreciate you joining us. We're probably gonna release this on the same episode as Jim West. Soon as it's funny because as soon as we said your name, he's like, "Oh, I know Alex."
Who's this?
Jim West from MMA Gold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's the.
If I seen him, I probably know who
he's the head coach, like Max Griffin's coach, Anthony Hernandez, Luis Gomez. He came from Turlock, Luis.
Okay.
He's at Voodoo for a while.
Yeah, Luis. What's funny is I grew up playing football with his older brother, Anthony.
Did you?
Anthony Gonzalez is his older brother, and I remember I went to his house a few times, when I was in high school, and I remember Luis like a little kid. Like 7 years old or something.
Yeah,
that's him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, man, I appreciate you joining us. This was definitely fun. Congratulations on the marriage once again.
Thank you.
And
thanks for having me too.
I can't wait to see you compete again, man.
Next year, after I was telling everybody, after I get married, I'm gonna be competing again. So I just don't want to get injured before, I don't want to show up to my
you have to limp
wedding day and I blow my knee out or something.
Yeah, pimpling ball on the way down the aisle.
You got a black eye or whatever.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to get injured, So
soon to be wife would be not very happy.
She'll be pretty upset.
But she will be happy when she sees you out there doing the old Habib smashing mofos. But yeah, we'll cut it right here, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you guys.
All right, guys. That was your 2 interviews with Jim West and Alex the Patriot Perez. Can't thank you guys enough for your time. I always love talking to the coaches, man. It's always nice to talk to the minds behind, the badasses you see out there fighting and competing and all that.
Yeah, they're the ones that are shaping the people that entertain us in these fights every single weekend. They don't get enough credit, I feel like, and they're the ones. They're putting in just as much work, if not more. They have multiple fighters that they have to understand where they're at, where their training needs to be, their fight preparation, all that stuff. It's a lot of shit to deal with.
Yeah. Here. There you go. Now you can sit and roll and talk. But yeah, no, I agree. I won't say favorites when it comes to fighter interviews because we interview a lot of fighters. I don't want to put favoritism on one interview and cause any type of anything towards there. But as far as coaches go, I guess we've only interviewed 3 coaches. No, we've interviewed a few, not more than I can think of. But Greg Jackson, Jim West, and Alex, those are probably my favorite coach interviews. Just great. They just have great conversation, man. Like, you ask them a question and they expand. So, like, especially Alex, which is the same thing with his teaching. He goes into such intricate detail on like techniques when he's teaching you how to do jiu-jitsu that you just are able to grasp it. Same with the questions. You ask a question, dude, and he goes into such intricate detail about what you asked. It's nice because, when you interview a lot of people, there's some people you interview where you ask them a question where there needs to be expanding and they'll give you like a 3-word answer. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll rephrase this question a different way, So it's nice dealing with someone that
although it's not airing today, that's one thing that I thought Steve did really well too.
Yeah. Steve Garcia, guys, he is fighting this upcoming Saturday. I think it's the 7th.
The 7th.
Yeah, the 7th. We have an exclusive interview coming out on Thursday with him and a fellow Jackson Winks. They're both from Jackson Winks. Fellow Jackson Winks fighter, Lohan Davis. Yeah, Lohan Davis, the Alchemist. Both guys, great interviews. Steve Garcia, though, gave us some heat, dude. He gave us some great stories. He gave us some insights on those legendary sparring matches with John Jones and other fighters that you always hear about on podcasts. You know, he's been at Jackson Wings, like you said, since they were at the original location. So he's there from the OG days. So he was there for all those sparring sessions. And he even, you know, I don't want to give too much away from the interview, but he even let us in a little bit on the fact that, you know, John, whenever he was kind of getting the ball dropped from the UFC on him, you know, John, because it was a short notice fight, right? That he took. John Jones gave him, you know, the tips and everything on how to be mentally strong and prepare for it. So make sure you guys tune into that very awesome interview. Can't thank you enough, Steve, dude. You know, especially the week of your fight, dude. I can't thank you enough for giving us your time. That was awesome.
Yeah, unreal.
But we're gonna get into current events, guys. So the very first one I have, you know, if you guys are on social media, you guys have probably seen it.
This fucking retard.
But so we'll start from this. This is about fucking Toucan Sam Merab Devashvili. I think I said that right. Devashvili. He, first of all, posts a video of him getting stitches, giving O'Malley a fucking target. O'Malley was already gonna fuck him up, but O'Malley now has a target to aim at because he posted a video of him getting stitches from a cut from sparring. Dana White roasted him. If you watch our past podcast, we showed the video. He roasted him in a post-fight press conference, pretty much called him a fucking moron. And then and then he turns around, he cuts out his own stitches on fucking Instagram with fucking like big ass like dollar store scissors, you know, like the big ass ones that you get for your office. Cutting out his stitches with that. So he got roasted again by Dana, and Dana even made a comment. He's like, I think he's fucking with me at this point. And the video we're about to share, I think he's fucking with him at this point. What I think it is he in his mind, he watched his big bro teammate, fucking Aljaslav, you know, he watched him go to sleep, and I don't know what's going through his mind. I think he thinks O'Malley is just the easiest fight he can think of, so he thinks he can do whatever the fuck he wants and get away with it. But I'm telling you right now, he's gonna learn, dude. If this is real and this is real alcohol in the video I'm about to show, 3 weeks before the fucking fight, dude, Merab, you're going to sleep even faster than I thought.
No, dude, it's not even 3 weeks, bro. It's happening in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're going to sleep even faster than I thought. If that's real alcohol in this video I'm sharing. But I'm going to share my screen right now.
And also, what's this dude's infatuation with Mexican and Mexico, bro? You're a Georgian.
Well, he's had that, like, he's done, like, the, you know, since the Henry Cejudo fight, he was claiming that the Mexican people accept him as a champion, not Henry.
I know, but now it's like nobody cares, bro.
Yeah, but I think
it go.
I think it's because UFC Noche, he's really trying to lean into the Mexican side, hoping to get some support. When in reality, this motherfucker is probably getting booed from the beginning of his walkout all the way up to the cage. And then if he happens to make it past the first 5 to 10 minutes with O'Malley and he gets to the point where he's gonna fucking dry hump O'Malley's legs, he's getting booed even more.
Yeah, dude, Sugar Sean's gonna for sure have the Hispanic crowd.
Yeah, but let's get into this video. So here we go.
That's for show Tecate.
Yeah, but did he fill it with water or is that actual beer?
No, when he drank it, you didn't see the foam?
I did. I just have a hard time believing someone's this fucking stupid.
You better believe it, brother.
But
There's a fucking bottle of tequila right there.
Yeah, but we don't need to watch the whole video. You guys
And a shot glass.
You guys get the gist. He's a fucking idiot. Like, that's all there is to it. He's a fucking moron.
I think he's scared and he's trying to create excuses at this point. You know, some people in life, you guys, whenever they're in fear of the outcome and they're not willing to actually accept that they might be you know, kind of like behind the 8 ball in a situation. Some people will self-sabotage. They'll put obstacles in their place. That way, when it does come to be that outcome, they can go, well, it's because of this, or well, it's because of that, you know. And it's starting to feel like Marab's kind of doing something like that, because Mashlobby fucking poster, dude. Like, what do you
Mashlobby Davashvili?
The fuck is he doing, guys?
Fucking Toucan Sam.
My God, he can't be that dumb. You know, I thought Marab was like educated. I thought I saw shit where he was wearing scrubs and stuff, like he could have been a doctor. Maybe that was a skit, and that was an impression I had on him. But he's got some shit going on, because that's fucking stupid.
He also, I'm pulling Marab. I don't remember what I was gonna say, but
that's more of a Joe Biden.
Well, whatever.
You need some of that fucking Joe Biden debate juice.
I got it right here.
Hey,
there you go. Hit that shit. But the next thing is it's Michael Chandler. So before I show this post, a little backstory. If you guys didn't see the live from Dana White, we're just gonna touch on one part of, well, we're gonna touch on what I'm about to show you, but there's another thing he announced, and we're gonna touch on it. We'll touch on it after this, though.
Just touch on everything at this point.
I'm touching on everything. But yeah, so Dana White did a live, and he said he's gonna have Michael Chandler news and Conor McGregor news soon. Whether that means they're still fighting each other, I don't know. You know, he said their names separately, and he put news after both their names when he said it. So it sounds like it could be. It sounds like it. Maybe there's a little shift.
But he even mentioned Max in there too, which is super confusing.
Which I was going to touch on after this, but I guess we'll get it right into that since you wanted to fucking bring it up.
I'm a plug it, man.
Yeah, no. So Max Holloway is booked to fight Ilia Topuria at UFC 309 in Abu Dhabi. And during this post, he mentioned that he's going to have Max Holloway news coming soon. So that leads to the question, is Max Holloway fighting Ilia? Did Ilia pull out? Or check this. Is it that Chandler's going to fight someone else and then put Max with Conor, which is a certified banger?
I thought you were going to say Ilia versus Conor.
No, they're not going to do that. But Max versus Conor for the BMF belt?
Could you imagine if they did that? That'd have been fucking... Ilia wins that fight.
Conor couldn't make 145. That couldn't happen. Max, though, has fought, as we saw with Gaethje, he's fought at 155, and he had great success. That is a fight that could happen because Conor has fought at 155 multiple times, including the last fight he had with Dustin Poirier. Whether he can make that weight still after all the juice that he was on,
he just needs a different type of juice.
Well, Slim Fast?
No, yeah, like a what is that? Estrone? What is it called?
Estrogen? I don't think he needs estrogen.
No, not estrogen. It's like Winstrol or something.
Oh, Winstrol. You know? Yeah, no.
There's another one too. I can't remember the name of it. It started with an E.
That's EPO, but that's for cardio. But yeah, Winstrol's a cutter. So Winstrol's one. But anyways, Max versus Conor could be a possibility if, you know, Ilia did pull out for some reason. And just think about the pay-per-view numbers, dude. I personally, early prediction, even if this does come to fruition, my prediction will remain the same. I see Max Holloway, if not by devastating knockout, then by easy decision. Max Holloway is going to outpoint him. He's going to outstrike him. Max Holloway is a fucking dog, dude. And Conor is doing cocaine and fucking midgets and going to biker rallies. So I just don't think I think there's levels of this game. I think Max right now, Max is up here, and you guys will see the edit when I edit this because Max's face will be right here. Max is up here, Conor's down here. So I think what Max did to Justin Gaethje will look like child's play compared to what he'll do to Conor.
Well, you know, not only that, but Max has been active and continuing to grow in his career, whereas Connor's been rich and inactive and
Doing cocaine and hookers.
doing a lot of drugs and anything but being ready to be a fighter, you know? And so
He's ready to fight for midget rights.
yeah, the only thing he's fighting for at this point is probably some Gatorade and Excedrin when he wakes up in the morning.
He's fighting for air clearance through his nostrils when he's trying to finish off that final line. It's the final line. But anyways, let's share the screen. This is a post from Michael Chandler. Right here. The post from Michael Chandler, and it reads, "Wheels in motion to bite down on that mouthpiece again. Bet on yourself always. Walk on. See you at the top." Obviously, that means there's something in motion, something that's been scheduled, whether it's Connor or someone else. If it's not Connor, you know what I'd like to see Michael Chandler do? Rematch with Oliveira.
Yeah, that would be fire.
Because he could have, if there was 10 more seconds in that first round, he could have finished Oliveira, especially because Oliveira is now on a decline, especially after that Sarukian fight, which is funny because somebody wanted to see the rematch between Sarukian and Charles. I'm like, Charles got dominated that whole fucking fight. They're all, it was a unanimous decision, or no, it was a split decision. It's like, yeah, judges get shit wrong, dude. That should have been unanimous. He got dominated. He got dog walked.
I really like Michael Chandler.
I like, dude, he gets so much hate. And I understand where the hate comes from because of the fact that, he's taken 2 years off of his career. He, now he's close to 40. He did that for Connor. And now that fight is, it's looking more likely the fight's not going to happen than it is going to happen. So I understand that part of it. But at the same time, dude, like when Chandler gets in that octagon, there's fireworks. Shit flies, dude. Like it's an exciting fucking fight.
Who knows? It could be a good thing for Chandler too, though. In hindsight, because maybe maybe there were some aches that his body had from being so active that he was able to kind of push through and heal in that amount of time.
Yeah, but at the same time, ring rust is a real thing. It's a very real thing, and if you're not, and especially the way he fights, where he just he bites on that mouth guard and willing to fucking eat shots.
How long was he out of, like, in between fights when it was going from Bellator to UFC?
Like maybe 6 months. This is the longest layoff maybe in his career, I think.
Well, yeah, he definitely could have fought a couple times waiting on Connor. Damn,
he could have made as much money fighting other people in this amount of time as what he's going to make from the Connor fight. By the time, if this does happen, by the time it does happen, we're talking maybe January. And which, real quick, let me pull up the exact date of the last time he fought. Tony Ferguson, that was his last fight, right? I think that was his last fight.
Was that, or was it Dustin?
No, Dustin was before. No, actually, it was Dustin. What the hell? Okay, so yeah, his last fight was Dustin Poirier. It was November 12th, 2022. So we're talking 2 years and 3 months.
Damn.
2 years and 2 months by the time this fight, if it does happen in January would happen. He's on pretty much, the same type of layoff John Jones took to get his body, acclimated to heavyweight. He's on that same trajectory of time off. And depending who he fights, if they pair him up with a straight dog, like Charles Oliveira would be a very good fight. But if they pair him up with like a Fazeev, that's not you're not going to get a John Jones type comeback if he goes against a Fazeev. John, especially because John Jones does use his wrestling, as we saw with Cyril Gane. Michael Chandler has that type of wrestling, but he says, fuck that shit. I want to fight, so.
It'd be a cool fight for him. The guy that Dustin finished, the Frenchman.
OSD or OSB?
Yeah, that'd be a cool fight.
OSB's scheduled. He's fighting on the Paris card, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but who's he fighting? I forgot.
I'll tell you right now. He is, it doesn't see. What about Tapology? Where's Tapology? Tapology.
I'd love that fight because Chandler's relentless and this guy's relentless too. I could see them both just throwing bombs.
Yeah, I can see that too.
That'd be fucking fireworks.
All right, here's his tapology. So he is scheduled to fight Ryan Spann.
Oh,
Wait a minute. No. I'm on the wrong guy. Yeah, well, I'm on the way wrong guy. Oh, you know what? I typed in OSP, not OSP. It is OSP, right? Yeah, or am I being stupid right now? I guess what I can do is just look up Dustin Poirier's record and go from there. Poirier tapology. I know I'm gonna feel stupid when I see this. BSD. God damn it. I was close. Yeah, so God of War. His next fight is Renato Moicano. That is UFC Fight Night, and that's gonna happen actually this month, the 28th.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's a good fight for Chandler though. Because think about it, he did get finished by Dustin, but he at first he was fucking piecing Dustin up, and he had a staph infection while that was going on. So he was on antibiotics, which affects your cardio and your performance and everything. Healthy BSD, I don't think that's a good fight for Chandler on his comeback. I think you need to pair him with
whether or not it's a good fight for him, that's not what I'm talking. I'm just saying I think that'd be a sick fight.
Yeah, but what's more exciting? Him coming back and rematching Oliveira, who he lost the belt to, and also someone who's similar age, similar at least on the decline. Is that more exciting, or do we want to see him come back and get fucked up by BSD his first fight back in 2 years and 2 months? I'd rather Charles Oliveira personally.
I think that. Yeah, I mean, I didn't say I didn't like that fight.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I personally, I'd rather see Charles Oliveira versus Chandler.
I wouldn't mind seeing him against somebody new, but I do also like a good story, and that one has a good story to it.
Yeah, it does.
And it is good. It would be good timing. You've got somebody who's on, took a loss, and then you have somebody who's taken a loss, but in a different fashion because he took 2 fucking years off.
Yeah. But the next current event, guys, is Shavkat Rakhmonov fires back at Bilal. So backstory, if you guys aren't in the know, Shavkat did an interview, and he said that he was offered to fight Bilal in elevation at Salt Lake City. What is that, UFC 307? Or is it 308? It's one of the two.
I think it's 308.
308. So Bilal literally, it's like 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks to a month ago, Bilal just won the belt. He's been on tour now. He's going around the world. He's on constant flights. He went a full 25 minutes with Leon, and he put on a fantastic performance. It was nonstop wrestling. It was a hard fight. If it was anywhere else, I would be judging Bilal, but at elevation, it's hard to not agree with Bilal. He just won the belt. You guys put him through hell to get to the belt, and now you guys want him to take a fight on, what is that, fucking 2 months? 2 months notice in elevation while he's also on tour, so he's not even training currently. That's I'm with Bilal. That's not very cool to UFC. Obviously, they don't want him as champion, which is fine because I believe that Shavkat beats Bilal, but I also think Bilal deserves a fair fight, and making him take an elevation fight that short of notice, that's not what I want to see. If I'm going to see Shavkat beat Bilal, I want to see him beat Bilal at his best, not at his worst.
I agree. And I mean, look at Leon, dude. The guy gets the belt and then holds on to it for like 7 months or some shit like that.
Yeah. Fights once a year.
You know what I mean?
And then you want Bilal to turn around in 2 months when he just won.
That just goes to show you that he don't got that Dana White privilege. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's kind of dumb. I mean, obviously that is a fight to make, Shavkat versus Bilal. Or check this, dude. Let Bilal heal, let him recover, let him get back into training. In the meantime, Shavkat versus Usman. Winner gets Bilal. I think that's a fun fight. That's fair. I don't think necessarily Usman deserves a title shot. Yeah, he was a great champion, but I don't think he deserves a title shot rolling off the couch. But I think he deserves the number one contender. He goes in there and smashes Shavkat, then absolutely. I think that's a fun fight. I think that should definitely. I think honestly, if I'm the UFC, that's what I'm making. I'm making Shavkat versus Usman in the interim until Bilal's back to training.
But also for Usman's psyche and just getting him back into the ring, it would be better for him to not fight for a title, for his fight coming back into it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And there's already heat between him and Shavkat because he helped Shavkat prepare for different fights, and then Shavkat was calling him out, and Usman responded in a hostile way. So there's already heat between them. So that fight just makes a lot of sense for multiple reasons. But I'll share this tweet that he put out. This is his response to Bilal about about Shavkat saying that he was offered to fight him in Salt Lake City. Right here. So the tweet says, let me zoom in. So from Bilal, it says, inactive. LOL. I'm still on trial, and Shavkat hasn't fought since 2023. I think Shavkat and Usman should fight to find the real number one contender. Not gonna lie, I didn't read that tweet, but as you heard, I 100% agree. And then there's a meme here. There's a meme here. It's Bilal holding the belt, and it's Leon, taking an oath in front of the judge. It says, "Your Honor, that's him. That's the man who beat me up and took my belt," which I agree. Shavkat responded to it saying, "Do you have a case of selective memory, or did you just forget that you didn't fight for 14 months before challenging for the belt?" Which is true, because I think his fight before the belt was Sean Brady. I think that was his last fight before the belt.
Yeah, it was a cool minute.
Yeah, but I'm with Ball there. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I would rather see Usman versus Shavkat than either one of them versus Bilal. I think Usman versus Shavkat's a fucking certified banger, dude. Especially the way Usman, performed against Hamzat on 8 days' notice.
Plus, I just love to see the contrast of what Usman looks like versus Shavkat versus when he looked like. Obviously he's gonna have a lot more time to prepare, but just to see how that kind of stylistically matches up. Because ultimately, at some point, I bet you, Shavkat and Hamzat are going to cross paths.
No, not Shavkat's 170. Hamzat's 185.
I think that the fans
Hamzat can't make 170. Remember? Do you remember this?
Yeah, but I think that, given Shavkat's trajectory, I think there's going to come a point where he's probably going to end up moving up, and we could see that, because I think I've heard a lot of people talk about the speculation of that matchup.
They've been talking about that for years. The only way I see that happening, and it's a fucking Hail Mary. I don't think it's a Hail Mary that Shavkat wins the belt. I think that will happen. But the Hail Mary is Hamzat getting past Whitaker and then beating DDP. For one, I think Whitaker is going to smash Hamzat. But even if he made it past Whitaker, does anyone really believe that Hamzat's taking DDP, especially how good DDP's looked in the past couple fights? I don't think so at all. Well, it doesn't matter, because we're gonna see Sean versus DDP next, and that'll. But even Sean, dude, I think Sean outpaces Hamzat. Hamzat's dangerous in that first round, but after that, he's kind of fucked. I think Sean, with his cardio and he's tough, I think he takes Hamzat fairly easily. I think he'd probably finish Hamzat in round 3.
There's a whole backstory behind that too, because you remember they were training together in the same facility for a minute there, and they had some back and forth, and there's videos of him saying, like, you need to chill out, like, you don't need to train like that, which is kind of funny hearing that come out from Strickland, because you see his, like, the way he spars and the way people talk about his sparring. So it's kind of hypocritical. God damn it, Bobby. But you know what I mean? Like, that would be a firefight too. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. The thing is, whenever him and Hamzat were going back and forth on X, Hamzat brought up the fact, like, remember what I did to you in training? But that's just that. Training and fighting are two different things. When you're training with someone, unless it's influencer that Sean's sparring, then he goes 100%. But when you're training with another fighter, you guys are working with each other. You guys aren't trying to knock each other out. So when it comes down to an actual fight, I think it'd be a very different play than what Hamzat's making it sound, what happened in their sparring session.
Yeah. Man, I wish somebody would leak that. Somebody was recording it. I'd love to see what actually went down there.
Yeah, but the next piece of news, I don't have to share my screen for this. I'll just read the headline. Jesse Andrade is open to fighting Joanna Jędrzejczyk for the BMF women's belt. I'd like to see it. Joanna Jędrzejczyk is a badass. I mean, yeah, she's had some time off because she retired, but they have fought before. If I remember right, Joanna got the win. I don't care enough to look this up right now, but I would be okay with it. I think as far as BMF belts go for females, I mean, who's better to fight for the BMF belt than those two?
Other than like Amanda Nunes, you know?
Yeah, but for one, she's still retired, and then for two, the past couple fights, aside from her murdering Juliana Pena in the rematch, past couple fights for Amanda Nunes were pretty boring. So I don't, if we're talking Amanda Nunes back when she, fought Cyborg, yeah, I would think she could fight for the BMF belt. But after that, I think she loses credibility because it turned into just her holding down opponents and really becoming a decision queen. Where, Andrade, if she's capable, is going for the finish, and same with Joanna. I mean, we all saw the Joanna versus fucking Wei Li fight, the first and the second. That first one was one of the best, probably the best women's fight in history. Second one, Joanna got finished.
Man, I really hope that whatever happens in that division, Kayla Harrison gets to shoot her shot next, and then it inspires Amanda to come back out, because that was a matchup I always wanted to see happen: Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. And I think that would be just interesting enough for her to come out for a one fight deal, Yeah,
I agree. And the thing is too, Kayla Harrison said that she's willing to step in and, if Juliana Pena or Pennington drops out, she said she's willing to drop. She said she's within a 5 minutes notice. She said she's willing to.
She said she'd put her elbow through Juliana's skull.
I agree. I would hope anyone beats Juliana. I fucking hate Juliana, dude. She's so annoying. she's the most cringy. Henry Cejudo may be the cringe king, but she's a cringe queen, dude. Like, I liked the way she fought Amanda Nunes the first and second time. I think she's tough. But, dude, her fucking mouth, dude, like, bring back the 50s, dude. Like, back in the old days where, make sure she doesn't do the dishes and, shut her the fuck up, dude. She needs it. I hope she gets her ass beat and either A, retires, or UFC just says kick rocks, dude. I'm so done with her. I fucking can't stand Juliana Pena.
They send her to the PFL like they did that other guy. Except, but he went to another organization.
He went to Brave. You're talking about Muhammad?
Yeah, he went back to Brave, but that's Dana's like, yeah, PFL might get themselves a really good veteran.
Yeah, I can't stand her. But anyways, that's all we have for current news, guys. But for the week of releases this upcoming week, so on Wednesday we're gonna release a exclusive interviews with Richie Miranda and Jim West. Richie Miranda was on the same card as left hook Larion Douglas for the LFA 190. Very exciting fight. He won that fight. So he'll be in that card. And then, actually, not Jim West, sorry. Mike Jelliker Woods. He's still amateur, but he's fighting on Combat FC, which is on UFC Fight Pass. So that they're going to be on the same episode. That's going to release Wednesday. Thursday night will be our secondary podcast of the week, and that will feature Steve Garcia and Lawan Davis, the Alchemist. So tune into that. That's probably, especially because it's fight week for Steve, that's probably the most exciting episode of this week. And then on Friday, Thursday, on top of Steve Garcia and Lawan, we're also throwing on. Who else were we throwing on there? Alex. Steve is going on with Lawan. Renato Valente. We're going to put him on Thursday's episode also. Renato Valente is fighting Randall Wallace. He's from the same town we're from, Oakdale, Bud, California. I won't go into any details here, but we are rooting for Renato in that, and Renato trains with Glover Teixeira and Poetan. So expect some Shama But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm seeing, I don't think we have a Friday episode. Next week, we're gonna have some good interviews. I'm still building the schedules, but till then, guys, make sure you guys subscribe, like this video, and also, motherfuckers, comment, give your opinions. Follow us on Instagram, PandaMMANews1, and follow us on TikTok and X, PandaMMANews.
Yeah, let us know who you want us to have on, guys. Is there and what kind of questions you would want to ask a fighter or a coach? We want to know what you guys want to hear so we can give you supply and demand, baby. But hey,
it has to be realistic. We can't get Conor McGregor, so be realistic with your requests.
Subscriptions are up. Some of you guys decided that you were going to quit cucking us and just join the family. So proud of you. Welcome.
The rest of you get panda farts.
There's still a lot of you, and we're seeing it. Okay, we got all the numbers. We can see you're not liking, you're not subscribing.
I can show you right now.
You know what? You know what kind of people do that?
Cucks.
Cucks do. Do you know who's a cuck?
Ian Gary.
That's right.
Okay. 4.6 thousand views, only 50 subscriptions and 35 likes. What the fuck, guys?
Pick up the pace.
Yeah, fucking pick it up, dude. Why view the goddamn video and not fucking at least like it or comment? And if you want to be a fucking true hero, subscribe, dude, motherfuckers. Like you being a piece of shits and just viewing the videos don't help no one. So fucking subscribe.
Doesn't cost a penny to subscribe, guys.
Yeah, doesn't cost a penny, but if you don't subscribe, panda farts for your mom.
Yep, pink eye.
Yep, pink panda eye. But until then, guys, yeah, we'll see you guys Wednesday.
Adios, amigos.